Feels like the first time. Throw away all pride. Don't wanna say I love you first. Holding it in just might make me burst. Love in the open. Daydreaming, hoping. Melting in our make-believe new worlds. Whispering winds bring the remembrance that you're my girl. No shame, no games. I wanna fall in love. I'll be your best. Or do you like sweet caramel honey dipped? I'm yours. Don't let it slip. Give up my power. Yes, afraid to lose each other. Counting the hours till I see you again. Could you be life, lover, and best friend? Waiting for text back. Wondering where you at. Or could you be with? No, I'm not possessive, but you're mine. Okay. I'ma let you live, no shame, no shame, no game. I wanna fall in love, vulnerable, in love. Do you want nasty, babe? I'll give you options. I'll be your perfect day. I'm yours till the night fades. No shame and no game. I wanna fall vulnerable. Could you be laughing at me or we just get deep? Butterflies flapping this time. Throw away all my pride. Don't wanna say I love you first. Holding it in just might make me burst. Love in the open. Daydreaming, hoping. Melting in our make-believe new worlds. Whispering winds bring the remembrance that you're my girl. No shame, no games. I wanna fall in love. In love. I'll be your best. Or do you like sweet caramel honey dipped? I'm yours. Flips. Don't let it slip. Give up my power. Yes, afraid to lose each other. Counting the hours till I see you again. Could you be life, lover, and best friend? Waiting for text back. Wondering where you at. Or could you be with? No, I'm not possessive, but you're mine. I'ma let you live, no shame, no shame, no game. I wanna fall in love, fall in love. Do you want this to be? I'll give you options. Throw away all my pride. Don't wanna say I love you first. Holding it in just might make me burst. Love in the open, daydreaming, hoping, melting in our make-believe new worlds. Whispering winds bring the remembrance that you're my girl. No shame, no games. I wanna fall in love. Oh, in love. I'll be a bad. Or do you like sweet caramel honey dipped? I'm yours. Be flipped. Give up my power. Just afraid to lose each other. Counting the hours till I see you again. Could you be life, lover, and best friend? Waiting for text back, wondering where you at. Or who could you be with? No, I'm not possessive, but you're mine.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
What's going on, everybody? Give me a minute. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Information Man Show. Today, we have a very special guest, my man, Ray Alexander. We've done these type of programs before where we do a deep dive and examine a variety of issues that impact Black people. We've done videos about migration, reverse migration, whether Black people should move from the West Coast to the South, in terms of consolidating our numbers, cheaper housing, maybe better schools, maybe better living environment. We've talked about whether Black people that are living in the Northeast, whether they should migrate back to the South in terms of consolidating political power, economic power, because the majority of Black people in this country live in these particular areas. So we've had shows about that. We talked about a myriad of issues that are affecting Black men, Black women. We had a show where we had a young man on here from Prairie View, HBCU College, who was a computer engineering student, if I'm not mistaken, that was on this show. So we touch on these type of topics whenever Ray Alexander comes on the Information Man Show. Today, we're not going to get into any polarizing topic, whether it be about P. Diddy or any of this other stuff. Those topics are for me to get into at a later time. So today is going to be very educational. When you talk about hypergamy and what that all means, a lot of times we see hypergamy as something related to women when women tend to, well, not tend to, but women historically have married up where they will marry men who are educated, men who have money, who have finances, who have status. And you hear this talked about quite a bit all over the YouTube streets about women always trying to increase their options for the best man that they can find when it comes to marriage and relationships. However, one of the areas that does not get talked about much is the reverse hypergamy, when you have men who are married to women who may make more money than them, who might have more education than them. And this doesn't necessarily mean that these are men that are bums, that they don't work, they don't do anything. These are black men in particular who have maybe blue collar jobs, or even black men who have college education, but a black woman in particular that they meet from dating on up to marriage. Maybe that black woman is a doctor, commands more money and what have you. And so this whole thing of hypergamy as it relates to men marrying up, ladies and gentlemen, we hear a lot of stuff on the YouTube streets, but let's talk about the real world, the real life. The truth of the matter is there are men out there, white men of all races and ages. But in this case, we have black men as well who have married women that are high on the economic status and ladder. Usually women that are very attractive, very well put together, that are motivated by getting that education and having the best life that they can have. And we live in a society today where you really can't make it. You really can't make it without a dual income, meaning both man and woman working in their professions, bringing that bread home, all right, to live the kind of life that they both would like to live. So just as women are can be picky and choosy about the kind of man that they want to marry and be with, when it is a woman who is looking for a man, we've heard these words all over the YouTube streets, the whole word of high value man. Well, today we're going to touch on the high value woman, and particularly high value black woman that maybe a man. Now, I know men in general don't tend to look for women when it comes to their education. We're very simple, ladies. We want women that are feminine, cooperative, right? Women that we can work with and can build with us. A woman that will be down with our program, our leadership, and where we're trying to go. Women that are give us traditional qualities that we're looking for. It isn't, we want a woman that even if she's a boss at work in her job, we don't want you to come home and be the boss, because the roles are reversing. The roles are changing today. And so when a man comes home, he doesn't need you to be the boss at home. See, there's a reason why men say that our home should be our castle, right? And so can women in general turn off these qualities of being the boss lady in her profession and turn that off when she comes home to her man? And there are certainly men who are in relationships with women who command more money, maybe have higher status in terms of their professional job in society. But in general, men in general don't really care about your status. They care about those qualities that I said before. In general, these are what men look for. However, there are those men that are outliers who do look for women, specifically, who have education, a career. I don't think any man in general doesn't want a woman who doesn't have something going for herself that she brings to the table, right? So, but there are certainly men who also engage in what we call hypergamy, believe it or not, in which they look for women who have certain status, just as women look for men who have status. So me and Ray Alexander want to examine this phenomenon today. We're not gonna come from this point of view, because a lot of times on the YouTube streets, people talk about this issue based on their feelings and what they think. What we're going to do is give you raw data, numbers, and statistics and data and information that's out there that is the reason why you're seeing this shift. One of the primary things that's creating this shift that you need to pay attention to today is the educational component, because more Black women in the Black community, as you already know or may not know, are attending colleges at a higher rate than Black males. And women in general in our overall society, no matter what race, are attending college at higher numbers than men in general. And as a result of going to college at higher numbers, one can just use common sense to know that in some cases, some women are going to go into professions where they may command a higher amount of money and pay. So they're outpacing men. Women are outpacing men, and Black women are outpacing Black men when it comes to college degrees and graduating and getting those higher type degrees, whether it be going to school for medicine, STEM, computer engineering, whatever it may be. Black women in particular are outpacing us. Now, you may say, well, it's because they're given more opportunities than men. There could be a whole host of reasons. One of them I want to bring up real quick before I bring Ray Alexander in, because me and him were talking, is that there's another trend going on. If you have not looked at this, everybody, this is pertaining to the Z generation, Generation Z. Generation Z, when it comes to the men, are foregoing going to college, because what's happening is that men are going back to skilled trades. So everything is going in reverse, where men are now saying, I don't want to go to college. I want to be a plumber. I want to be an electrical engineer. I want to get a skilled trade. So they're saying there's an influx of skilled trades being the thing, meaning men are going back to what men did in the very beginning, when it was really men who were the main breadwinners of a household, where it was men that women would use their hypergamy to connect themselves to men that would be seen as, or can be potentially, great providers. Basically, hypergamy is nothing but a instinct that goes all the way back to the very beginning of man and woman on this earth, when we were doing the hunting and gathering, where women were looking for the strongest, the most bravest, and the most reliable man who they knew would be a great provider, because he would go out there and he would hunt and gather the food. He would hunt and build shelter. All this is instincts that has been in our DNA since the very beginning. And we all, and all it is the survival skill, really what it is. Now, I know that when it comes to men, that is something that men have talked about in terms of how women are very hypergamous. They engage in hypergamy, should I say, let me correct that, hypergamy. And men talk about how we're judged in so many different ways. We're judged by our height, how tall we are, how much money we have. Do we have a good verbal game? Are we muscular, tall, short? Are we confident? Do we walk with confidence? Do we act confident? There's all these different things that men have always recognized when women look at us and judge us, on top of the fact of how much money we have, what we can provide, right? Well, there are certainly men out there who, on the flip side of this issue, look at women. There's for every man that doesn't look at women for that, there are men who certainly may take that in consideration when they're thinking about marrying and having a relationship. These are just realities that we have to deal with. So, Ray, let me bring you on in. Unmute yourself, brother. Thank you for being here. And Ray, how you doing, man? How you been doing? Ray? Uh-oh, we got some technical difficulties. Ray, are you there? Ray?
And you okay?
You just muted yourself, Ray.
Man.
Go ahead, Ray. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you now, and the sound is nice and clear, so I'm glad you're here.
Great to hear that. Well, thank you for doing this important topic, because a lot of people need to be aware of the trends that are happening in American society as they impact Black American people, particularly as you said about Generation Z, as well as the millennials, the younger millennials, the trend is happening that McKinsey and Company is a consulting firm. It's an international consulting firm.
Mm-hmm.
They put a report together called Blacks and the Future of Work. And the report has stated that Black women will fare better than Black men in the AI and digital economy because of the careers women have chosen in HEAL. That stands for Healthcare, Education, Administration, and Literacy. And most of those degree skills, it's larger than STEM. STEM makes up 77% of the economy. HEAL makes up about 24% of the economy. HEAL careers tend to have human contact. Nurses, physical therapists, occupational therapists, dental hygienists, dentists, physicians, and also when you go into things like educators, go into principals, superintendents. When you go into a lot of the careers, this is where women are getting their even social work. These are careers that tend to work for government agencies, and they have pension plans. And so the trend has changed from what they're saying, AI and the digital economy will enhance those positions, but it won't necessarily replace those positions because you're going to still need teachers and nurses and things like that. Within this framework, we've had some things that have been happening whereby women have been doing this for a while, but we possibly did not observe that women who are in positions of high socioeconomic status, initially was in the entertainment industry, people like Oprah Winfrey, who would be able to attract certain types of high caliber men. The man may be educated, he may be particularly look a certain way, look good to these women. And so she's using that type of socioeconomic status to attract that men, those type of men.
I'm gonna put a picture. We talked about this earlier. Let me do something right here. Let me put this picture up. And let me say this too, Ray. I have the numbers. I meant to say that when I did my intro. Everybody, thank you. I see Jill's Chocolate Boutique in the house, Scooter High, Neighborhood Watches in the house. Thank you for coming on over. Let me read this. See, Gen Zs have a high opinion of skilled trades. 73% of the young adult surveys responded said that they respect skilled trades as a career, putting it second only to medicine at 77%. They're exploring it for themselves. 47% were interested in pursuing a career in trades, and more than 80%, ladies and gentlemen, there are benefits to skilled trades over a desk job, with the top benefits being more flexible schedule, faster educational pathway to working, less expensive education, not paying what we call school debt education, less debit, as I said, and ability to be your own boss. Another 74% said they believe skilled trade jobs won't be replaced by AI, Ray. So as women are moving to the pinnacle of outnumbering us academically, men are shifting their attention in particular to skilled trades. So therefore, Ray, can't one make an inference that you are going to have, in some cases, men married to women who may have more education than them, although they have a skilled trade that pays well, but there's a potential that they will be with a woman who has in potential more education, and let's say that she's a doctor or something, for example, and could or may not making more money than that man. In some cases, we know that women, and particularly in the Black community, that Black women, because of their pursuit of education, they're starting to outpace Black men. What are your thoughts?
Okay, that's a very interesting point that we can also.
I'm going to put this picture of Oprah up here real quick, but go ahead. I'm listening to you, Ray.
That's a very good point in that, because you do have a trend where men are going into the skilled trades, and we actually want them to go into the skilled trades and do the types of things. one issue that's coming up, previous generations of Black women did that. The millennial women and Generation Z are looking at the challenges of mixing social classes.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about how difficult it is for a woman. A lot of these young women who are premier scholars, they're getting accepted full scholarship to Spelman, Wellesley, to mainstream universities, and they are getting acclimated to a certain social standing and a social class. So when they're going to Wellesley, Smith College, if they even are going to UCLA, if they're at Stanford, and more Black women are not only at the HBCUs, they're at the premier universities like the University of Michigan, the Ivy League, Princeton University, those types of schools. So as they acclimate to that, so if you, even if she started from a poor background and she went 4 years at Smith or Wellesley, and she acclimated to those standards, and then she
Mm-hmm.
finds herself at Yale Law School or Vanderbilt Medical School, or any number of type of graduate or Northwestern MBA program, and she's operating at an upper middle class level. Her work environment is upper middle class. The people in her circles are upper middle class. So although she may in fact want to date guys that may be high school graduates and become an electrician, on the one hand, it's going to be rare that she comes in contact with them at that point. And there are going to be some social class issues if he has issues with her education and the raising of children. There was a book that came out about a sister who graduated with highest honors from the University of Michigan. She got accepted to Harvard Law School. Her father, she's from Detroit, her father was a Ford, union worker, right? And he had prepared her to school, went to school. She was an honors graduate of Taz Tech in Detroit. She did marry a blue collar brother, and there was a great deal of contention about how to raise the children. She wanted them to go to private school. She made partner at a big law firm, and they eventually divorced on that because the class statuses so happened. Now, that was a Generation X sister. Now, some of the Generation Z women, they want to see more accomplished. They want to see you bring it when they bring their children up and they are going to these different universities. They're working in these systems and they're seeing their Indian American counterpart, their Asian American counterpart woman at Accenture Consulting or vice president of marketing or a brand manager, and they're marrying on their level, and their children are either going to very good private schools, going to very good suburban schools. They want that. Now, some of the gentlemen who go into that's going to be an issue. Will we be able to merge classes as previous generations? Because class is related to educational level, income, wealth, and socioeconomic status. Just having the high income does not necessarily allow you to acclimate to the class.
Ray,
The
let me
upper
ask you
class.
this question real quick. You might have noticed that I had something up here. Is this the book that you're talking about in question?
Now, that's one
The
of the
Richer
books.
Sex.
The Richer Sex by Liz Mundy talks about how women are gaining and men are attracted to women who, certain men who have educated themselves, men who have moved up, because having that type of partner, it has a lot of benefits for your children. The children of college educated women tend to, and it's just a tend to, this is a trend, tend to perform better academically throughout their educational careers and access higher level careers later on because of the education level of their mother. The biggest indicator of a child's academic success is the education level of that child's mother.
Of the child's mother.
Mhm.
Now you're correct about that. Because if you have a mother, a woman who's just looking at soap operas and not really into anything of substance, it does translate to the child because the mother is the first teacher of the child. Let me just read this excerpt from the book, brother. It says here, "The Richer Sex: How the New Majority of Female Breadwinners is Transforming Sex, Love, and Family." Um, this is just a little, I just want to give you all a little taste of what this is all about. While the media often highlights the negative repercussions of increasing economic power of women, Murda argues that women earning will bring a new liberation for women, but also for men. Now, I want to stop right there because I know a lot of guys on YouTube, people that I've been on panels with in the past. There's a lot of guys that this wouldn't jive with them, Ray. That this statement right here in the book. There's guys on these platforms or listening that won't jive with them.
Well, but they would not be the men to do these types of things then. What that is saying is that, and you could see this, a lot of women in my church, like there was a woman who was a prosecutor, right? And she literally took off, when she got married, she took off 20 years to raise two children, get them through high school. She went back to the prosecutor's office at that, making literally six figures, supplementing the children when they went to school, also supplementing the husband's income. Because see, after a while, when you have a wife and you're going through that full life cycle with her, she has a pension plan, she has income, every cycle of the life. So you'll be retiring with someone else who may have $500,000 to $1 million in their pension fund or in their 401k. She may also have a pension fund. She will be able to use her money to send those children to college if they want to go to college, wherever they go, or she can strategically help those children win the type of scholarships because she'll be connected. She'll know more about the networking that's required to get into certain programs. So the issue is that a woman can in the past generations, the woman was the stay-at-home mom, but you'll see women who are physicians, dentists, they still cook for their children. They still do things. Now they might have grandmother that's at home at a certain time. They may have help, or they may do 4-day work weeks. But the point of the matter, a woman who is an educator, a woman who is a social worker, a woman who is a marketing brand manager, they bring a lot. And once they stop for that usually 18 to 20 years to raise those children, that's when the pay gap, and that's when they need a man that can also handle that lifestyle, who can pay that type of mortgage, who can pay those bills, and who's willing to and happy to do those things. So if you're going to be grudging about paying the bills to live in a suburb with good schools, safe homes, higher quality of life, then that would not be the woman for you. But you'll see at every stage of the life cycle an educated woman with a career, and also she's happy. Her self-esteem is high when she has something productive that she can do outside of the home. She has highly productive children, and she's the assistant superintendent of schools. So those are the types of things to consider.
Let me just say peace and respect to everybody in the chat room. We got the Bunker TVs in the house. Bonnie Rose, Alicia, Black Anonymous has made some good points. He says, whoa. He says, television news and information. Perhaps he was intimidated by an attractive, educated woman. Look, and we got Sister Jill's Chocolate Boutique is in the house as well. This is the thing. It always comes down to your insecurity, right? Now, I think one of the things you often hear black men say is that they don't like the fact. You'll hear some black men say, let me preface what I'm saying here. Sometimes you'll hear black men say, especially on these YouTube streets, that they don't want black women throwing their educational status at them, or that black women in general will lead with their educational status. And once again, like I said in the opening monologue, a lot of black men, when dating, and men in general, and at the end of the day, sometimes don't really care about how much education you have when it comes to the basic traditional things that men covet with women. So anybody listening to this, that's going to be the strong point that most men are going to drive home. I'm going to say this, though, and you know this, Ray. We live in a society where it takes a dual income to damn near make it. Stuff is getting more expensive. Inflation, the whole 9 yards is happening. So although men want to play traditional roles, you live in a society where traditional roles may not actually, it may not work in terms of the economics of it. Meaning, uh, why would you not want? And I'm not saying that brothers out there don't want a woman who's got something going for herself, but I'm just saying in general, for me, why would I not want a woman who's a professional, who can bring home, who can bring home good pay, and I bring home my good pay, and then together we can do great things together as a couple, right? We gives us more flexibility. I think that men in general don't mind a woman who has herself together. We just don't want, like I said in the opening line of the video, if you are a boss at work and you're large and in charge as a black woman, we don't need that in the household, Ray, in terms of raising children, because in the household, we're supposed to be working towards something. I'm bringing this up, Ray, because this is some of the things that you hear black men bring up, and some of the stuff that causes these disconnects between us and our women when it comes to these things, right? And we can say that, well, black men, we all got to do better. Let's stop complaining about all these things and just do better. And I believe that we should do better, have less complaining, because I don't really, me personally, Ray, I don't have a problem. I hear this on YouTube. I don't have a problem with a woman going to school and educating herself. I'm not intimidated by that. I find that most men who do the most complaining about this are guys who have some self-esteem issues. They don't measure up, or they have not measured up, or they have not done anything with themselves, so they have to blame the fact that, on someone else, right? They just haven't measured up.
Yes.
And a lot of times in these red pill spaces, men are constantly telling men to level up, get better, work on yourself, focus on yourself, and don't focus on women. So if you are focused on yourself and you are leveling up, then a woman who has leveled up should not make you feel intimidated. Or a woman who is making more money than you should not intimidate you if you haven't considered, well, what is the profession that she's in that's making her more money, right? So if she's a doctor or a psychiatrist or something like that, and you're trying to get with her, and you're maybe working working in retail, then maybe you should be getting your game up. Maybe you should be going back to school. Maybe you should be getting skilled trades, because that's where it's going right now for men. Maybe you should be improving your status so that you can be equally yoked to her if you have a problem with that. You see what I'm saying?
I agree with you. Coach Deion Sanders, the Hall of Fame football player. Were you finished making your statement, brother?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish.
Coach Deion Sanders, University of Colorado coach Deion Sanders, the Hall of Fame defensive back NFL player, said that people that have a problem with his high level of confidence should check themselves, because it's not that he has a high level of confidence that's the problem. It is the insecurities of the persons that do not understand that he's confident about what he's trying to do. Now, I'm bringing this to women. A lot of these young women might have started from poor backgrounds, and some of them come from upper middle class backgrounds. But say Shantae started out, she really did school. She graduated from high honors from her high school, was in the National Honor Society, got a full Navy scholarship to Spelman. Then that Navy scholarship to Spelman, she went to Duke University Medical School. So she finds herself as a internal medicine physician in the Navy Reserves as a lieutenant commander and an MD working at Grady Memorial Hospital. Certain men may feel intimidated by her accomplishments, but those things were required for her to get there. So a person who says that, a lot of these men who say that a woman's education doesn't matter, if they feel that way, then they should not pursue relationships with women that have accomplished those types of objectives.
Now, Ray, that's a powerful statement. Nobody wants to deal with that. If that's not what you want, and you feel it, either either you don't want it because you don't want to hear a woman flaunt her education, then don't choose. I've been saying this for a long time. Let me just say this, Ray,
Mm-hmm.
because this is what I get sick of hearing. Dudes be spending a whole bunch of time complaining about women that they don't want, but they focus on the women that they don't want and make that the topic. They surround everything around as if those are the only women that exist. If you don't like a woman who's highly educated and is sort of confident with her background, and don't date them, right?
Right.
But the bottom line is that I think men still want women that can still be that nurturing, loving, feminine woman at home and still have all those other skills that we're talking about today. Let me do this, Ray, because I got a video of a sister that I definitely need you to see. And I want to say peace to Miss MZ Kim Bling Bling Bar and more. Make sure you subscribe to her channel. We got Alicia in the house. We got my man Blaze in the house. Good to have you over here. Scooter High is in the house saying, I agree with that last statement, though. Appreciate that. Ronnie Hunter, great show. Look, Ray, this is one, I think this is one of those shows, you know, a lot of the shows I've done over the last few weeks have been kind of polarizing, but I think people are coming over for this show slowly today because this is one of those topics that's kind of uncomfortable for people. You know what I'm saying?
That's cool.
Because we as men, we got to get a grip on our attitude and our behavior, how we see women in general and black women in particular, right?
Right.
Now we know that black men will say that, well, you know, I don't want to deal with attitude and all of that. No, nobody wants to deal with attitude, but I just don't see myself being intimidated by a woman who is educated, because when I was in, look, maybe it's about experience. I was in college. So most of the women that I was around, Ray, were nothing but women that were going to school. And I had said to myself from day one, I didn't want to meet my wife in a club, a nightclub when I was married. I'm not married now, but when I was married, I never wanted to meet a woman in a nightclub. I wanted to meet a woman pursuing some type of educational or some type of pursuit of positiveness, right? So this is why when you get on YouTube and you hear guys sometimes get caught up in the whole issue about, well, you know, I don't care about her education. She better be this and that, which is fine. We want women to be feminine. We want women to be cooperative with us and all that kind of shit, right? But then, wait a minute. Most of the brothers that I know, we all went to school. And most of us were dating and dealing with women who was up in that biology class. They was in that anatomy class, right? I've been used to being around women that are pursuing higher things. So I'm not intimidated by it. And maybe it's because of being in college. And I'm not saying that college is the only way to educate yourself. You can certainly go to skilled trades. But I think most of the men who don't have this problem, and maybe I'm wrong, Ray, are men who actually did go to, because you got a lot of people on YouTube who will say they went to school. They didn't go to school. You know how I can tell? I can tell by how they move and how they are around women that are educated. They feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Most men who went to college, whether it be the HBCUs or the PWI schools that have been used to being around women that are pursuing higher education, we don't feel intimidated around them because we was in school with them.
Information
is power. Okay? Let's just keep it real. Go ahead, Ray. I wanted to shout out somebody that came in. We had a special
go ahead and
guest
shout
that
him out.
came
Go ahead
in.
and shout him out.
Where is she at? Because I see her on another channel all the time. The Love Experience. Let me give a shout out to her. What's going on, Love Experience?
Information is
And
power.
Tiffany Coates is in the house. Tiffany. Jill Chocolate Boutique. Alicia is special. Jill Chocolate Boutique is a very special lady. MZ Kim Bling Bar and more is a special lady. Make sure y'all check out her channel, ladies, because she sells jewelry, necklaces, and she does it like you see on television where she displays the merchandise before your eyes. Tiffany Jackson is another one. Let me give her a clap. We got last call in here. And let me see. Oh, we got my man, the real Aaron Collins. He's been doing this thing out there in Hollywood. I've seen you at some of those premieres, the iHeart premiere and the Image Award premieres and all that kind of stuff. Aaron, good to see you out there. He's in the entertainment business. We got Michael in the house. And Michael says this: your family is your business. A man should be able to delegate responsibility to his woman. I think a man that commands respect from his woman is a man that gets respect not based on what he says, but by his actions. I think women respond to you by your actions, by what you do, how you carry yourself. That's what I think women respond to. But maybe I'm wrong, right? But Ray, let me take it back to you. Anything else you wanna add? Oh, let me read what Blaze said here. I do agree that if a man truly can't stand black women as much as he says he does, right? Because Blaze has heard this sort of stuff on panels, then he would not waste his time ranting and raving on live streams for hours about them. That's something I'll never. I don't understand it. I don't think any of you have ever seen me do a show where I've ranted and raved about, I've been on panels where I've said things, given my opinions about things, but it's not something that I spend a lot of time focusing on this channel because, like I said, Ray, most guys that are confident and feel confident with women of all backgrounds and education, we don't feel intimidated. And what we do is we pick out the women who have that background, who are going to be the most nurturing and feminine and most nurturing in terms of raising a family. We're going to pick out those type of women. And so if you find that the woman, no matter what her education is like this, then you don't rock with her if that's not your thing. But Ray, let me do this right quick. Let me break some definitions down and bring you back in.
Okay.
So hypergamy. So we got the word hypergamy or hypergamous, right? Let's break down what that means, ladies and gentlemen. The actions of marrying for forming a sexual relationship with a person of a superior social or educational background, social, economic, or status in life. So that's what hypergamy means, everybody. That you are matching yourself with someone that you are sexually attracted to, hopefully, in a pursuit of being with someone of maybe a higher caliber or status in life, education, maybe money, background, whatever, what have you. That's one of the examples. For many, many years, everybody, women have been the ones that society says engages in this type of stuff. Women are, on the average, likely to mate with men of higher economic and social status than themselves. The phenomena is sometimes referred to as hypergamy. Now, it's not just an action that's women engage in, but you've had men that have engaged in this. And this is where today's topic is at. High value women, trophy men, and gender roles reversed. Now, I know a lot of guys are not going to like that because I've been on panels, Ray, where we talk about that, where a man should be a man should not be doing things or behaving like he's a woman. We have to keep roles in check because we're raising kids and you want your kids to see what a man does and what a woman does and have balance. But certainly, check this out, Ray. If I feel like this, and I don't care what anybody says, if my woman makes dinner for me after I've had a long day of work and she's making a bath for me after I've had a long day of work and I'm able to come home to a woman that brings me peace and she makes me a nice meal, a good meal, makes my bath water for me, takes care of me, then why shouldn't I not do the same for her in return if I'm at home and she's coming home from a long day's work? Why shouldn't I make a nice meal for her? Don't tell me that it's not cool for a man to cook food because some of the greatest chefs in the world are men, not women. Okay? Most of your restaurants you go to, the food is being cooked for you by men. So why shouldn't I cook a meal for her after she's had a long day of work when I'm already home? Why shouldn't I make a bath for my woman? Because why? I can be romantic with my woman then. You see, Ray? But there's some guys on YouTube that would say, oh, that's being a simp. No, that's being a companion to your woman and showing love. And therefore, that goes back to my first point. You get what you get from your woman based on your actions. The woman gets what she gets from a man based on the actions that she put forth towards that man. But let me just put this out there. Why male hypergamy may become the norm. Ray, as I get ready to bring up the next slider, tell us why, in your own words, why this is becoming the norm. And I know there's people that may disagree with this.
Okay. Well, let's just go over that. As you said, there were researchers that have been looking at this because they're saying that this may become the norm because women's personal earnings have grown faster than men. We're talking about Generation Z. We're not talking about the Gen X and the Boomers, and the Boomers will be pretty much fully retired by 2030. But and the gentleman who did the research said that women were able to adapt more successfully to the changing economy than men. That meant all men. So what will happen is that women, and if you show that part where you have Simone Biles and
Yeah, I'm gonna
Jonathan
put this up. But
Jonathan Owens,
I'm going to put that up in just a minute.
women with
Let me
the
read.
type of go ahead.
Let me read this part right here. Right now, everybody, these are stats and data that Ray did research on. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women now hold 51.4% of the managerial and professional jobs, up from 26.1% in the 1980s. They make up 54% of all accountants in business. Let me also put this up here too, Ray. They hold about half of all banking, insurance jobs, and about a third of America's physicians are now women. And from what I understand, a lot of black women, Ray, are outpacing black men when it comes to going to medical school. If I'm correct about that, Ray?
You're correct. The information I showed you, according to the most recent data from the American Association of Medical Colleges,
Mm-hmm.
60% of the black medical students are women.
Are women.
That holds the same in also in dental school.
Okay.
And something like 95% of the black nurses are women, 95% of the black physical therapists, occupational therapists. So that healed profession on that is something very important. These are high status, high income careers. And so what is happening is that these women, and the reason I'm bringing up Simone, just like she earns 5 times more than her husband, she recognized they met on some type of exclusive dating app.
Yes.
Now, people will say ups and downs about Simone. As far as her socioeconomic status and wealth status, Simone is a straight 10. As far as her celebrity status, she's a straight 10. Most people, and I think Jonathan Owens is a great guy. He was with the Green Bay Packers. Now he's going over to Chicago. Nobody heard of him before Simone Biles. And Simone Biles and women like her recognize their socioeconomic status. They recognize what they can do. So she pursued him. And she, quote, he said it, he was her prize. If he plays his cards right, because in that profession that he's in, making it 10 years is real hard. He makes $1 million a year. And Simone makes $5 million a year in her endorsements. From what I know of, he doesn't have any endorsement. He's 28 now. If he can make it to 30, that's going to be good. But if he works with Simone Biles, he'll have a good life. They can transition when they have a family. They can do all endorsements related to that as they go through the life cycle. And not just Simone, these sisters that are getting their doctor of pharmacy degrees, and your brother that has a master's of public administration or whatever, or even if you've got one of the few brothers that's teaching, education is very important. Now, you can work a lot of these jobs where you can make 6 figures, but it's not just the income. It is the social. This has become a class issue. It is the social economic status. Not only are these women educated, they've moved up in social class. There's a book that we can discuss again called Class, A Guide Through the American Status System by Paul Fussell. He talks about the different, you have the upper tier class, you have the middle class, you have the proletarian class, and the lower proletarian. A large number of Black Americans, because of the way the society have treated us over history, are kind of in the lower proletarian class, semi-skilled people and unskilled. So what happens, some of these women may have come, their fathers may have been semi-skilled, but they raised themselves up by going to school, and now they find themselves as a state district judge at 34 years old. And because they really studied hard at Fisk, got into Vanderbilt Law School, and interned for a state district judge. And then when they got enough experience, they ran for office. And this woman, and I'm talking about somebody I know, can run for that office until she's in her 60s if she doesn't become appointed by her governor as a Supreme Court justice for that state. Sisters are doing these things. If you notice, when you talked about that order, there are more Black women in medical, dental, law, and graduate school than Black men. It's going to do a social economic status divide. So the brothers can go into skilled trades, and I say skilled trades, become a master plumber, become a master electrician. But some of the brothers are stuck in the semi-skilled and lower skill, unskilled areas of work. And so that's where there's a great disconnect. If you happen to be going between, you have a brother, I think he went in front of a judge, and I think he was either a high school dropout. He tried to shoot his shot at her. She laughed it off, but not to be condescending. The actual fact of the matter, he's not in her social class. And there's nothing wrong with him acknowledging that. And that's never happened before, and it's not a bad thing. People tend to marry other people in their social class at a similar education level, at a similar career prestige and income. The issue is that that's more difficult for Black women because there are so few Black men, not so few, there's not an equal number of Black men graduating from these professional schools. Now you're showing right now, I think that you're showing
I want to show, let me show a couple of statistics here.
Okay.
Research at the University of Kansas study census data between 1990 and 2011, ladies and gentlemen, found that women personal earnings have grown faster than men earnings due to increasing their education. Now, this is way back in the 90s before we got into the 2000s. Let me go here. What's happening now? I remember I talked about the the Z generation. Young women are on the rise, single, childless, because a lot of times, Ray, we hear people on these YouTube streets constantly talking about the single Black mama. But ladies and gentlemen, what we also have, and I'm going to place this right here, Ray, because I want to make a point here. We also have the but we also have the single Black woman that nobody wants to deal with, that has no children yet, right? Who's out here maybe dating a young man like this brother right here on the I love these AI photos, especially with the Black folks. They're wonderful to look at. But we got the single Black women out here who do not have children. And what's happening, Ray, is that they're out earning millennial men. And remember I said earlier that the millennial men the Z generation is watching what has happened to Generation X. They have watched what is happening to millennials, and they're saying college is not the way for me to go because I'm going to have all this debt. Now, mind you, that the argument can be made that even if Black women are getting all this education, Ray, because I know someone's going to bring this up, and it is a good point. Even though Black women are getting all this education over men, that if men make the decision to do skilled trades instead, that in the long run, men will probably have less debt, and that the women that are getting all these higher education degrees are ending up with more debt. So in the end, as you hear this argument, that in the end, even if they got more education than black men, you're still going to be dealing with a black woman at the end of the day that's going to have to deal with the debt. And I brought this up to your attention before, Ray, before we went live. Even controlling for education, black women are earning less than white men, but that's for everybody. So even though black women are earning more money, it's less for everybody. If you're a black man, a black woman, or even a white woman, you're still going to earn less than white men earn in this society due to all of our social ills and problems. Among black women earn for each dollar earned by a non-Hispanic white men with the same education attained. So even though black women are getting these education, they're still in general still earning less than white men. But then the argument can be made that hell, black men are not out earning white men in general. So we still have these social ills, because these are things, Ray, that people are going to bring up, that people are going to make good points about, that we want to be very clear about in today's program, my brother. I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah, were you making your point? I wanted to add to that as well.
Go ahead.
As someone in the comments, Miss Jackson, Tiffany Jackson is saying, it has become a class issue. What's happening, it is hard to mix classes after these women have elevated themselves and they want a certain lifestyle that they have attained on their own. Yeah. And so the men who are bashing these women, the men that are denigrating their degrees, even debt, the women I've seen, they paid it off. These women have opened their dental practices. They have opened their medical practices. They paid off their student loans. Many of them went to the Air Force, Navy, Army to get their nursing degrees, medical degrees, dental degrees. You have sisters that are judge advocate generals coming out running for state district judge. You have a lot of things happening. I think that a lot of the bitter men who really are trying to date out of their lane. And this sounds hard because they say they want the truth, that they're trying to date women that they're not necessarily qualified for. Ray, they always want to get on here and go ahead.
No, Ray, you don't know that what you said was such gems. You hit right on it. And I know some people who watch this video, they're gonna be angry at what you just said. This is the little quiet as it's kept situation, whether it be on social media or whether it be in the real world, that you do have guys who just don't measure up. And because they don't measure up, you got to tear something down to put yourself on top. So because they don't measure up, then everything's got to be a negative with women who do have education. Like I said before, if I'm pursuing a woman who has education, I'm going to say, hey, that's great. But now I want to see how she is as a woman in a household, or as a woman when it comes to whether we're building a family or we're building a relationship. How nurturing is she? How does she really care about the relationship? Is she trying to be the boss like she is at work? And if that woman doesn't have those traits, and you both can work together, then it's a great match, whether with education or without education, right? And let me say this too, Ray. I know that men, at the end of the day, they care about how a woman looks, her attraction, because we're very visual as men. We're very visual. That's great. But
you got to pay the cost to be the boss. You are not getting any 8, 9, and 10s if you're making average income.
Right.
And so now, go ahead.
What about
I didn't mean to interrupt
men,
you. Apologize. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, you need to say that. What about men, Ray, for the sake of our topic, that end up marrying women that are really below their status? And men have done that. You got athletes that do this. I mean, let's keep it real. You've got athletes, billionaires, rich men who will go and marry a stripper. I think Robert Smith, the black billionaire, I think his second wife, that was her. So we got men who will marry women who have no qualifications outside of their looks. And nobody seems to have a problem with that, right?
And
And you
that's a rare group of the billionaires and millionaires.
right, it's a
When we
rare
look
group.
at the Forbes 400,
Yeah.
84% of them are college graduates and 40% are have masters and above.
Right.
They marry within their class, like Jeff Bezos did when he
Mm-hmm.
married his wife. And
Mm-hmm.
Robert Smith's first wife, he met at Cornell. That's when he
Right.
had his black children. So, although there are going to be exceptions to the
Mm-hmm.
rule is people marry within their social economic status. And that would be from Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys. His wife is educated. They met at the University of Arkansas. There's just a lot of things that we are overlooking. But the issue that I think a lot of brothers are going to have to deal with, this sounds hard. Stay in your lane. If all you want to do is get a high school diploma, and a lot of these people who are talking about their electricians, they are not master electricians, plumbers. A lot of times, if you haven't gone through the formal training in that, you
Mm-hmm.
may be an assistant over, and a lot of people just stay at that. So if you don't want an upscale suburban or lifestyle for yourself and your children, don't
Mm-hmm.
pursue women that they want that for themselves. If you're indignant about a woman's, it's not really those guys' business. If she went to Vanderbilt Law and she had to get a loan for her, that's her business. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if she's making $200,000 as a patent attorney for a certain firm, that's her business too, and she'll pay that off. But it is very rare that a guy who does not have similar credentials is actually going to come in contact with those women. And a lot of women are being more strategic because, well, basically because they're living in areas that these guys can't afford. Yeah.
Ray, you're absolutely right. Because when I was in college, going back to college,
Mhm.
and I know not everybody goes to college, so I'm not trying to sound elitist here, but when I was in college, the only women that I was dealing with, the truth of the matter, are women that were on my level. The most of the
Mhm.
parties I was going to, the fraternity parties, all the events that I participated in were women of that caliber.
Mhm.
As much as people don't want to deal with it, but it's just the truth. These organizations, whether it be the Jack and Jill organization, these
Mhm.
were organizations of black people that were what you would call the talented 10, educated,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
tend to marry and match. Look, I've been on panels, Ray, where we talked about this, where the idea that should we go back to a system in which fathers match their daughters and vice versa with young men and young ladies who are going somewhere in life? Because that's what things like Jack and Jill did. See, this is the thing, Ray. People get on the YouTube streets and people in society talk about how black people need to want more and do better. And then when we create organizations or we create a environment to do better and pursue more, then you get criticized because now you're being too bougie. You can't have it both ways, black people. We can on the one hand say that we want to do better and pursue better, and then when people create a mechanism of that lane, then we want to criticize it. You see, right? So we can't say that so when men say to women, "What do you bring to the table?" We can't in one hand say we want a woman to bring a lot to the table and then run around and then get involved and marry women who actually bring nothing to the table other than they're behind. You got to bring more to the table than just what's between your legs and your big booty, because we've seen men, we see what these athletes do. They get involved with these women that are very physically attractive to the eye, and then what happens? They end up getting divorced. The woman's taking them for all they've got. The woman has used them as a lick because
Yeah.
they only pursued the woman based on what she looked like when they met her in a club. They never took the time to say, okay, what is there beyond just her looks? And can she be a proper mother, a proper wife, all those sort of things, Ray?
Yes, and it's problematic in the manosphere streets. You have a brother who's right now on a popular show who's got some woman from Asia pregnant, who's a bodybuilder, fitness,
Oh, I know from
whatever.
the what
Yeah,
you calling show, the Fresh and Fit. Yeah, it's a damn
and he
shame.
doesn't even really know this woman. And this woman is maybe carrying his prospective child,
Right,
and they have trashed out our sisters here. And now
right,
they're sitting here looking as an embarrassment to the entire world.
right.
The issue is that brothers need to really, if they are so anti-education, anti-intellectual, anti-upward mobility, then do what you're doing and deal with the women that are in your lane. And they're going to find it very increasingly hard for them to deal with women in their lane, because those women say, well, I could do bad all by myself. I got this little
Right.
small house or this little townhouse. I don't need you to come burden me, and you don't want to do any better than when your father did or your grandfather did. We're trying to progress. So
Right.
this hate that's coming in, and it may get more severe, because when I remember I showed you, when you looked at that and we looked at it together, how the American Medical Association data is you having 60% of the black MDs are women. These
Hmm.
women are 26 to 30 years old. Now, if this trend continues and these brothers are not getting into these programs, and they're saying that they're doing all this trade school stuff, and
Hmm.
when we talk about these unionized jobs, these primarily white union jobs, not
Yes.
a lot of brothers in those programs, and they need to fight for union work. You have a lot of these immigrants coming from Latin America that have completely displaced a lot of black men in the construction trades.
This is what I
So they
want to
need
say, Ray, to that
go for
point.
it. Go for it.
While we're complaining, this is the thing that's sad.
Hmm.
While we complain in this gender war between us and black women, which I'm gonna be honest with you, what you said was right on money. While we're fighting our women,
Hmm.
the true battle is the fact that we've got people coming into the country,
Hmm.
and a lot of these immigrants. See, we all think that most of these immigrants just gonna come here, and all they want to be is in the in the fields picking something, and that all they want to be is housekeepers and all of that. No, some of these folks are coming over here to get education as well,
Hmm.
and then they're going to be replacing your ass, right? Like you said, black men used to dominate. If everybody go back, anybody that's listening to this podcast today, if you remember, there was a time that most of the landscapers that you saw were black. Most of the people that work on construction sites would be either black or white people. They're being replaced. So while we're sitting up here putting our attention on what we don't like about black women who have education or their attitudes or whatever a man is complaining about, to each his own. You actually have a bigger problem, black man. That is people that are coming over here that are impacting your jobs, your opportunities, because you think that these immigrants are only coming over here to be a servant. No, some of them are pursuing education. Matter of fact, I think amongst the Latino population, they are increasing going to college.
Hmm.
So a lot of them are pursuing. See, they are where black people were. Remember, once upon a time, black people did all the domestic jobs, Ray,
Hmm.
and then eventually we did what? We started pursuing education and other jobs to get away from doing domestic jobs. Where you think what do you think is going to happen with these people coming over here? They're going to eventually get education, and education, they're going to compete in the marketplace, and they're going to get your ass out of the marketplace. While you sitting up here still talking about your concern about black women who got these many degrees, and you don't want to hear about their degrees. Okay, I get it. You want them to be feminine, you want them to be cooperative with you, but yet, guess what these other groups do, Ray? What do they do, Ray? They consolidate their money together, don't they?
Yes, yes.
While we're
And
sitting up here crying about what we don't. Go ahead, Ray.
no, go ahead, go ahead. If there's a picture of this, we talked about high value black women, trophy black
Yeah,
men, role
yeah,
reversal. If you
yeah.
go to that where you were reading about the why male hypergamy may be the norm, would you bring
Okay, let
up
me
that
go back to that.
couple that says newly engaged couple Jay and LaRonda from OWN Network show? And let's go over what
Oh, okay.
LaRonda got going on, and let's go with Greg, because I think people may have seen this show. It's called Put a Ring on It.
Let me do
Uh,
this. Let me do this, Ray.
okay.
Let me do this. I got to go back to the email that you sent me originally with that couple.
Hmm.
And is that in the other email that you sent me?
Now that's the first one that says high value women, trophy men,
All
gender
right,
role
check it out.
reversal.
Let me go back to the one. Give us a minute, folks. Bear with us. Here we go. I got it.
And it
Okay.
says newly engaged couple Jay and LaRonda.
Yeah,
If you
Jay
go
and
down,
LaRonda.
can you bring up that picture if you don't mind?
Let me see. Okay, this is what I got to do. I actually have the picture in my system, so let me see if I can pop it in here real quick, and then we'll go over the information. Just give me 1 minute
Okay. Because
because
I
I
want to
think
go over this point because people,
yeah.
this is not just happening for quote celebrities. I just want to show you what's happening in the real world, real people, real time, everyday people.
Right. All right, Ray. Let me just let me enlarge this a little bit for everybody to see, and you can go ahead and say what you got to say, brother. Let me enlarge this a little bit so everyone can see.
Okay. Now
This is
this
the
is.
couple you're talking about, right?
Let me look at that. Let me look
Okay.
one moment. Let me see.
Can you see that?
Yes, that's the
Okay. Now,
couple I'm
Ray,
talking about.
go
Very
ahead, Ray.
beautiful, very nice couple from. Now this couple, this is LaRonda and Jay from Put a Ring on It from Oprah Winfrey Network. Now
Mm-hmm.
LaRonda, let's break this down. Beautiful young lady. LaRonda is a Clemson University educated electrical engineer,
Mm-hmm.
and she has an MBA, and she earned six figures as a technology systems sales executive in succeeding in a highly competitive male dominated field for a
Mm-hmm.
Fortune 500 company that grosses 20 billion annually.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Jay, he's a soft spoken, he's a stand up freelance comedian. He's in great shape. He's built like an NFL running back, but he doesn't have an NFL running back contract. But he got his communications degree at South Carolina State University. And what we're saying, this arrangement may become the norm in Black America as more Black millennial and Generation Z women graduate college and complete more advanced degrees than their male counterparts. So this is not just Simone Biles and Jonathan Owens. This is not just Candy Burris and her husband. This
Oh
is
yeah, let me put
real
those up real
people.
quick. These are real
Mhm.
people. So we got Candace. We all familiar with Candace from Housewives of Atlanta, and then of course we talked about Simone Biles. Okay. We know the story about Oprah and Step. You know, they never got married, so a lot of people have kind of talked about that in the past.
Hmm.
But
But they've been
this
together
brother, if I'm
like
not
what,
mistaken,
38 years. Hmm.
wasn't
Hmm.
his brother? If I'm not mistaken, wasn't he a athlete too? This brother right here, a running back or something of that nature.
Which one? The one on? I don't know. He might have played college
Yeah,
ball.
I
I'm not
was
certain.
reading
Yeah.
here. Let me just do something real quick. Let me read. I think he was a running back. Let me see.
Okay.
Let me do some. Let me look at this. It says here it used to be that women were the ones who married up, snagging men who were more highly educated, professionally successful than they were, allowing them to step into a higher economic class. But now that women are outpacing men in college enrollment and driving growth in the labor force, there's been a seesaw effect, Ray, and you brought this up. According to a new study in the Journal of Demographics, the table have turned. Men are now the ones who are more likely to marry up. Okay? Research. Now, I talked about that already. Now, check this out. On a previous season of Oprah Winfrey Network, Put a Ring on It, as you said, Ray, a couple that seemed to fit their relationship type were LaRonda and Jay, right? You
Hmm.
said she's a Clemson graduate. And it says right here that, let me see, it says right here where the soft spoken Jay, who completed a communications degree. See, this is not always that the Black man didn't go to school, but maybe
Hmm.
he went to school and pursued something that does not make as much money as his female counterpart went to school
Hmm.
and pursued something that makes more money, right?
Hmm.
Says here, communication degree at South Carolina State University, right? I think that's a HBCU, is a freelance stand-up comedian. So he's also a stand-up comedian, brother. He's built like an NFL running back, but without a $1 million NFL contract. That's Jay that you see on the screen. So he went to school for communications. He's a stand-up freelance comedian. While this sister is working in a highly competitive male-dominated field for a Fortune 500 company that grosses $20 billion annually. The sister right here, university educated electrical engineer, as well as a MBA. She has an MBA, and she earned six figures as a technological system sales and executive, succeeding in higher competitive male-dominated field. So, Ray, I said a mouthful there. Does that add to the complexities of what we're talking about today? And what's going on, Eugene, still?
Yes, that's just saying it like it is. These are the regular everyday people. And it's not surprising to me that this very attractive sister, and she's got game. She got it
Mm-hmm.
going on. He's
Mm-hmm.
smart enough to say, look, she loves me. She wants to have a family. We want to be married.
Right.
And why tell her that she's got to sit home and she's this great electrical engineer? She's doing these things that she'll probably stay home when she has those children. She'll probably be out 15, 20 years, and he'll have to go ahead and support that family. But the point of the matter, this is happening in real time for these millennials and Gen Z. And what brothers have to do is either you're going to elevate yourself to be what these women want, or a lot of them say they'll just have a nice life by themselves. They might
Now,
not
now,
even want to get married.
now, Ray, I gotta say this because I know this will be brought up as a comment on this video, or someone's thinking this out there. Let's look at the flip side of this. There are situations where black women who are highly educated find themselves alone, either because they can't find men that are on their level, or as some brothers would say, that they find themselves alone because their expectations are too unrealistic. And then sometimes some men, some guys would say that they are alone because they put their educational pursuits ahead of family pursuits, ahead of raising a family, and then they wait until they get all the education, all the accolades, and the money, the house, the car, right? And then now everything is supposed to fall into place for them, where the good man is supposed to drop out of the sky for them, and now they can start raising their family. There are some that would say, and we know that Kevin Samuels talked about this, and people have gotten into these debates about this, that there are some that believe that women should pursue the marriage first, not the education, focus on raising a family, so that you don't end up being this woman who's you gained a certain amount of age, and maybe you're past your prime, whatever people want to say here, and now your clock is ticking, and the man that you need to be equally yoked with, you can't find. Now that's the argument that people will make on the YouTube streets, and some men will make in a community when it comes to women. Ray, do you think that's just a bunch of whining and crying, or do you think there's some truth to what some men are saying about these type of issues?
I would give it's a little bit of both, and I'll say this: Asian American, white American women tend to be able to do that right after college or years afterward, because they have enough men in their group that they can marry. So if a black woman is, and I say do both, if they're the men, some of these colleges you have maybe 30%, 30% men, 70% women. So the
Mm-hmm.
brothers have to be there. And the guys that are not in colleges, where are all these $1 million businesses that they're building? Where are all these plumbing companies and all this?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of talk on YouTube, but when we look at the
A lot
numbers,
of talk.
the brothers are not there, and they need to be
Mm-hmm.
there. And some of
Right.
these women, they were doing what they were supposed to do, because they
Right.
would be worse off if they didn't have a degree. So if they couldn't get a man without, even the women that are available to those men, they're not doing that great either.
What's
The
going
women
on,
on
Red
their
Squad?
level.
Red
Mhm.
Squad X Files. Good to see you, Jonathan Majors. Thank you for being here. I said it. Thank you for being here. Wow, William 454. Thank you for being here. I think we got Jill's Chocolate Boutique still rocking with us today. Eugene Steele's rocking with us. Let me go ahead and show you something, but let's go over some numbers, because talk is cheap. In reality, is what it is. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that do a lot of talking, and then you say, well, if you got it going on like that, you shouldn't have a hard time finding a woman that you say that you want, while you
Mhm.
complain and talk about the women that you don't want 24 hours. The two just don't make sense, because if you look at men who are true, this is why you know you don't have a lot of high value men on these. I'm just keeping it real. This is why you know you don't have a lot of high value guys on some of these social medias, Ray, because high value men are not complaining about women. Why? Because they have leveled up and they always can get the women that they want, because they are in environments where the women that they usually want are in those environments. Because those women are doing what, Ray? Those women are chasing them. Those women are putting themselves in those environments to get them. And that's why you don't see any so-called high-value guy on YouTube 24 hours a day complaining about women. These are just guys that are wannabe high value. And most of these folks, I mean, when you look at YouTube today, most of these Negroes that you see on YouTube today with a suit on, and they're doing all of that because they're trying to mimic Kevin Samuels. Because prior to Kevin Samuels, he was talking mainly to men about men's issue and what men weren't doing, before he decided to jump on talking about women, because he knew that that was economically going to be lucrative for him. Let's keep it damn real.
Tell the truth.
And he was wearing the suits. I remember, Ray, dudes on YouTube making fun of him for wearing the damn suits.
Right.
Now you got everybody and their mama trying to do a mimic channel or rip-off version of Kevin Samuels wearing a suit and tie. Y'all Negroes wasn't doing that before. And I knew Kevin Samuels. I've been on panels with him. I knew how his channel was before. Most people didn't know nothing about this man until he blew up based on that you're going to die alone scenario, right? When we know that black men's health is 10 times worse than black women's health, and we're actually the ones who die of poor health than our female counterparts. This is what I mean by this, Ray. We got too many people who just talk, but they don't give you data. Let me show you some data here, Ray. This is by way of Ray. Ray's the one that put this together, folks. And Ray, you put this out there, and I want to put this up here and read this to people. I have it on the ticker, but let's read it. In 147 out of 150 of the biggest cities in the United States, median full-time salary of young women are 8% higher than those of the guys in their peer group. That's what's going on, folks. Not what y'all are just talking about on the YouTube streets, where you're just talking, but you never bring any data to back up what you're talking about. In New York City, Los Angeles, San Diego, they are making 17%, 12%, 15% more than their male peers, respectfully. So this is in New York, Los Angeles, San Diego. Women are outpacing men economically. So instead of us complaining about that, how about you pursue those fields of study that would gain you the most revenue? Ray, am I just making up something here? Doesn't that make sense that if men don't like what's happening, you can always pursue another career if you feel that you need to have that edge for some reason?
That's true. If they really believed in the so-called red pill, then the thing that they would do is advance themselves financially and economically. If they believe that women only want a certain small group of high status, high income men, and these guys are calling themselves red pill men, then the logical and reasonable thing to do is to get to that income status. Make those six figures, and so that you can, quote, attract all of those women. But we see a brother that had a major show, and he seems to be very callous and unaware, and he may or may not have this woman pregnant from Asia. But with all that money, it's in jeopardy because he just was not being wise in the way he's interacting with women. And he's supposed to be Mr. Red Pill. And so the brothers, and I'm a black man, and I want our brothers to do well. This is not something that we want to come out and say in public, but these brothers, and let's say the Gen Xers have failed to mentor and develop these brothers the way they need to be so that they can be the best version of themselves. There's been a lot of chaos in there. The unfortunate reality, these Gen Zers and with the millennials going to have to figure out a lot because of the failures of Gen X men and the failures of the boomers that had the Gen X men. And that's something that we need to have a big discussion about, because this does not just happen arbitrarily. These things did not arbitrarily.
That's right. Every generation has influenced every generation. Let me put this number up here. So I just read you the large cities, the New Yorks, the Los Angeles, right? The San Diegos. Well, check this out. The same holds true in the smaller communities in our country. Also holds true even in reasonable small areas like Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, in North Carolina. So you got Raleigh, North Carolina. You got Charlotte, both 14% more. In Jacksonville, Florida, women are making 6% more. So this is actually a trend. It's only a trend, ladies and gentlemen, is because women are outpacing men as it relates to college graduation and the type of fields that they're now pursuing. Now, used to be a time when women would go to school and they would go to school for maybe being a teacher, some humanities type courses. That is changing because women are now going into more of the hard science fields. They're getting themselves in more traditional occupations that men have, for the most part, dominated. Okay? And this whole thing is changing. And I'm going to say again, the Z generation right now of males is saying that they're not going to school. They don't want to go to college because they don't want the debt. And they realize that they can make more money and make immediate money quicker becoming a plumber, a skilled electrician. And another good field that's getting pretty hot, Ray, is the air and heating. That's becoming, from what I'm saying, that's blowing up. So you got a lot of the younger men that are watching the failures of Generation X, the boomers, or maybe the boomers actually were the ones that were doing those type of jobs. So let me not throw the boomers under the bus too far with this, but certainly the Gen Xers, the millennials, who probably were pursuing the higher education too because they were listening to Gen Xers and boomers. But now Z generation is saying, no, we're going to think for ourselves and go with the skilled trade. So that's where you see a switch going. Now, Ray, let me also put some other stuff up before I show a video and have you speak on something here. Let me show this. This is important. This is data that you sent to me that I find very interesting. Let me put this up here, completely up here. And hopefully everybody can see that. Let me put that back up there. There, that's coming through much clearer. And Ray, I'm going to take control of the screen and let me take something off of there. And everybody in the chat room, I thank you for being here, participating in the chat room. Your thoughts and everything are very well. Let me take something else off of there too as well so that I can see everything. Okay. Additionally, according to the American Association of Medical Colleges, we talked about Black women in particularly pursuing medical degrees. Black women are the majority of Black medical students at the PWIs, the white historical white colleges, medical schools, as well as the HBCUs, right? And most of our HBCUs produce most of our Black doctors, everybody. I've done videos on this. Medical schools. Black women make up 54% of the students at Howard University College of the medicine, 58% of students at Mayhem Medical College, and Meharry Medical College, and 64% of the students at Morehouse School of Medicine. And this is also the case for Black students in dental schools, DDS and DMD programs for dental schools. Furthermore, at the 6 historical Black law schools, Florida A&M, Howard, North Carolina Central, Texas Southern, Southern University, and the University of District of Columbia, women students are above 60% at those JD programs. Let me put another one up, Ray, before we get to your thoughts on this. Let me put that back up there, and there we go. The cities where women earn more than men had at least one of 3 characteristics. And I already said that New York, Los Angeles had primary local industries that were knowledge-based industries. Other were manufacturing towns whose industries had shrunken, especially smaller ones. Wow. Let me put up another clip here. Ray, before I come to you, Black young women far outnumber black young men at historical black colleges and universities, but also at the highest ranked mainstream universities, from the Ivy Leagues, the Cornells, Harvard, Princeton, to other top tier schools such as Duke, Northwestern, Stanford, as well as the University of California, Los Angeles, the University of Michigan, and the University of Virginia. Okay, everybody? So, Ray,
Mm-hmm.
what does that tell us? Now, does that tell us, now, once again, everybody, you do have men who are going to college because they're going into skilled trades. So that is probably contributing to the decreased numbers of men versus women, because men are saying they don't want the debt that comes along with going to college. So let's be fair about that. However, is this a reflection, Ray, of just women in general having a better appreciation for education, or is it a reflection that some men may not have their shit together, or some men are just referring not to go to school because they want to pursue other things? What is it a reflection? What do you think this is reflecting?
It may be a little bit of each of those. What's happening, some of the men don't want to get into debt, which is a good thing, but they're
Yeah, it's a
not
good thing.
going gangbusters into get into these journeyman trade programs. When we look at unions, we will look at union training programs. The two of the premier trade schools in the U.S., Williamson's College of the Trade in Pennsylvania, as well as the Apprentice School in Norfolk, Virginia. These are premier programs that probably have about 1% to 2% Black enrollment. Now, to get into those trade schools, you have to take the ASVAB, the same thing people take to get into the military, and you have to have a certain score to get into that. So I hear a lot of talk on YouTube, but I want to see millennials, brothers who are master electricians, master plumbers, doing all these types of things, and there's demand for them. So beyond talk, when you can look on these YouTube streets and see these sisters who are dental hygienists, get in their own townhomes. You get these sisters with masters in nursing, occupational therapy, physical therapy, doing all these things, getting their own homes, and they're in their 20s. These brothers that saying that they're making $100,000 as a box truck delivery, and I'm sure that someone can do that. They're not purchasing
Single
homes and
mother.
things of that. Mhm.
Okay. Low
Okay.
economic
Let
status,
me stop
materialistic.
something here. Ray, I didn't mean for that to go on while you were talking, so let me get you back on here.
Well, go ahead.
Ray,
That's a good thing. Yeah.
finish your point.
Well,
Well,
that's
finish
all
your
I'm
point,
saying.
Ray.
They had not been. I want to see millennials and Generation Z who are master plumbers. I want to see them master electricians, master carpenters. I want them to see them with their own firm bidding for major contracts. There's a lot of talk, but we want to see this because single women, almost 20% of homes are purchased by single women, whereas only 10% of homes are purchased by single men, and 2/3 of homes are purchased by married couples. So if you're making this money, you're saying that you got what it takes to be a provider, then show that, because these women are doing it. But that thing from Nicole Michelle, that's a great piece if you don't mind
Yeah,
showing that, because she
I want
discusses
to
that.
play that. Now, you know what's funny about this, Ray? When I clipped this piece that she did, and it was funny to me. I didn't realize, Ray, until it dawned on me today, that I know Nicole Michelle. I been on panels with her in the past. I don't know if this is another channel that she created or something like that, but I'm familiar with her. I just clipped this because she had a this might be the negative side of things. She had a definition of how she sees this whole thing called hypergamy as it relates to men. Now, Ray, we got to be fair here. There are certainly guys out here who do pursue, just like women pursue men as sugar daddies, right? Let's be honest. There's women who look for men who have money and status to be their sugar daddy. And you do have men who are what we call gigolos, who also pursue women for certain benefits as well. It does happen. And I want to say, I almost think that this is where she was kind of going with this particular issue. And to my brother Jonathan Kidd, you're right. Most Gen Xers were latchkey kids. I was one of those latchkey kids. While the boomers didn't care about our future, there's a lot to be said there. I know everyone has their opinions. Tiffany Jackson says this: I respect young men not wanting to take on a lot of debt, but it does not take money to make money. This seems to be more of a discussion about long-term planning versus a desire for immediate results. Good point. Good point there. Well, some people want immediate results, and some people want to take their time and build something with someone. That is true. Ronnie Hunter says this: when those women have townhouses and homes being single, what do they have left to build with a man? There's some people that believe that if a woman has all these things at her disposal, then maybe she won't need you. But see, I don't believe in that theory, Ray, because we're humans. God put us on this earth to be together. Even bugs on the ground and insects on the ground don't pursue being by themselves. They have
That's
mates.
correct.
They produce. So if animals produce, that tells us as the hierarchy of it all that it wasn't meant for us to be single. Look, I can't tell you there's a lot of women out here and men. See, nobody wants to admit this, that are successful. They got the house, they got the car, they got the money, but they got no real love. They got no real person. There are people that were partying when they were young. They get older and they regret not finding someone that really cares about them. Telling you, man, it happens. Let's play a little bit of what she had to say here, Ray. And folks, you may agree or disagree with her position here. This is sort of the profile of a hypergamous man. And she's sort of focusing on the men who either they didn't get raised by their father, and maybe they're looking for women who have it all together as something that they can attach themselves to, like a sugar mama, like women attach themselves to sugar men. I believe this is kind of where she's going at, but maybe I could be wrong. Let's hear it, Ray.
Primarily by a single mother. Okay. Low economic status, materialistic values, and social climbers once again. So let's go to social climbers. Continuing on the same thought. Social climbers are not necessarily poor or broke or anything. Their family structure, good breeding and all of that, but they want to maintain that. So if they see that their family is struggling financially, they are going to marry well. Is what they call marrying well. Low economic status. Look, they're tired of being poor, and they come across a great woman like yourself who's beautiful, and you're sitting on a little something. You are resourceful, you're talented. He'll never see a hungry day with you. And then raised primarily by single mothers. This is...
Ray, I'm going to stop it right there, Ray, and continue it. What Nicole Michelle was doing here, and shout out to her. I've known her. I've got to get back in contact with her. What she's doing here that I have a little bit of a problem with is she's sort of saying, well, these are men raised by single mothers. So they're looking for women to sort of mother them in a way that the single mother did to them, which is true. This is a phenomenon that does happen. But the problem I have is that she sort of lets the single mother off the hook, meaning, Ray, you've heard this before. Mm-hmm. It seems that if a woman raises a son in particular by herself, and that son becomes successful in life, mm-hmm. then the woman will get all the credit for being a single woman who raised a son without a man. So the woman will get all the showering attention and rewards for that. But if that son grows up to be a thug,
tell the truth, a
no content,
tell the truth,
information is power,
in and out of prison, then what happens, Ray? You hear guys have said this on the YouTube streets. Then that's when they blame the father who wasn't in the child's life. This is where they say, well, this happened to him because he didn't have a father in his life. Oh, he's a malcontent because he doesn't have a father. This is sort of how society looks at it when a woman raises a child by herself and he doesn't do right. She gets all the praise when he does right, and then the father gets all the dump on him for not being there when we don't even know the circumstances for why the man is not there. It can be a variety of reasons why the man is not there. Maybe the man could be trying to be with his son, but maybe he can't. Maybe there's court orders. Maybe the father has passed away. There's all kind of a variety of reasons, right? But that's the one area where she kind of wants to get away from the single mother being the problem, when in fact it's just as much can be a contributor as much as you can say the father not being there is a contributing factor too. Because a child needs balance. They need the feminine balance with the masculine balance. I'll just stop right there, Ray, and continue this.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe you want to make a statement about what I just said.
I'm hearing where you're coming from on that. The discussion that I was projecting to have is that the social circumstances have changed, is why certain men will marry up. Not that they are, some of them may come, the social climbers definitely, but if a poor guy goes to an HBCU and studies engineering, and he marries a woman who is a teacher, he and his children will have a more upwardly noble lifestyle than if he married a woman who had a high school diploma and worked retail.
Right. Let me just read this statement here.
Go for it.
Black American Television News and Information. What's going on, sister? Give you a clap. She says she agrees with Bling, Bar, and more. This is the fact, because most of these black men today are not interested in many types of school, period. Black men today don't see any value in school, period. And sister, the reason why, I would say this, I don't think that black men don't see value in school, because actually there are a lot of black men who are going to school, that are pursuing education. I think that what's happening, as I said before, the younger generation of black men are flipping the script and saying, why should I go to school, spend 4 and 5, 6, whatever many years in a school, gain all this student debt? So now when I get out of school, I got all this debt over my head, when I can pursue a job making the same amount of money that I could with a college degree, if not more, and I can get into my field of study immediately without incurring student debt and going through the drama of trying to get into a damn school and taking all these exams and all the ups and downs of being in a college university. I think that is more of a factor, but let me know what you all think. Let's continue to play more of Nicole Michelle here.
Not because we're going in on single mothers, but there's a real important thing I want you to note, that in the absence of a father, he is ill-equipped to see how the masculine and the feminine operate in the home.
Boom. This is where I agree with her. Now that is key, Nicole Michelle. I agree. I just said that a few minutes ago. That got to have the balance. Let's continue.
You know, we talk about this all the time as it pertains to women, but now it's our turn to see how not having a father in the home affects men. And this is not a beat up session on single mothers. I'm not going that way. I just want you to understand how he's shaped and how his thinking is shaped, and how that really won't benefit you, because what he does is he doesn't have family privilege. He does privilege. He does not have people behind him supporting, understanding and shaping how he views family, right? It's more about the absence of the father and a provider role that is going to shape how this man views a woman's role in the home. 9 times out of 10, if you talk to a man, and I'm really mean, 9 times out of 10, you talk to a man raised by a single mother, his view on family and marriage will not mirror traditional structure. 9 times out of 10. There are exceptions to the rule, but more often than not, they will be very, 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 very loud and, passionate about having a traditional structure because he saw his mother doing it all.
Okay. So I want to stop it there, Ray.
Okay.
So she's basically saying, because of a man, when it comes to hypergamy, that some men who grow up and do not have the proper father figure in their life, as you heard her say, and they see their mother struggling, because we've heard that the struggle of seeing your mother, whoever raising you, that some men who engage in hypergamy when it comes to men pursuing women who have, status in life, we're talking about men who don't have any sort of status themselves, that they're trying to pursue something that was missing in their own life. They're missing in seeing the balance between the feminine and the masculine. And therefore, could you hear women say this, where the man is now wants more of a mother figure out of his wife than actually a woman figure? What are your thoughts, Ray?
Yeah, that's true. If he doesn't have that initiative, I'm not really talking about those type of men who come from broken homes. I'm talking about upwardly mobile men who are already on that pathway, and they're coming across women that they can do the types of things. Say, for instance, when you were in college and you dated sorority girls, when you dated women who did become doctors and lawyers and things of that nature, when these men are in a totally different pathway. Unfortunately, because of the society's failure to educate and develop our young men the way they need to, you're going to have those guys who are going to try, and you see that they're going to try to marry up, but they're not usually going to be successful because they don't have what those women need. When we talked about social class, if a woman is a judge, if a woman is a director of marketing, and this was when we talked about Carolyn Ecker, the woman who went to law school with Barack Obama and she married the blue collar guy, her total environment that she operated in outside of home was so foreign to him that he would do things to humiliate her in front of her staff, in front of her colleagues, in front of her friends. So eventually she tried to, because they came from the same background. He knew her family, but what happened is that they were just not on equal footing and they had to break up. He didn't appreciate that she was a Harvard law graduate. He said that wasn't all that. So when you have a man that doesn't respect his wife's education, that's not good. That's a non-starter. So women who are doing these things have to be particularly careful to attract men who are usually doing something similar. And it's becoming more calcified. It's more stratified. Class stratification is becoming more solid. So for the men who don't want to go to college or who feel they don't have the resources, they can go to the military first and go a little bit later if they don't want to get into debt. But what they need to understand is that if you're going to stay in a certain class status, don't ridicule the women who have risen up to a different social economic status and they want to live that lifestyle and they want their children to live that lifestyle. So if you're going to be an everyday brother, you're going to have an everyday home, you're going to live in an average neighborhood, don't get upset with the woman who found a way to become director of marketing for a major consumer products company, and she's making six figures with stock options, and she's been able to buy a really nice home in a really nice suburb, and she's really able to live a really nice lifestyle. So if that's not the type of woman you want, don't interact with that woman. There are good men who are making good life choices. They've gotten their education. We need more of them. They interact and operate at that higher social economic status themselves. Those were the men that tend to marry these women, and they have more successful marriages because these men support them. A lot of successful women in politics, usually their husband is the political background director. A lot of these men that marry wives who are dentists and physicians that have private practices, their husband is usually the business manager, marketing manager, just a lot of things. So the type of men that are qualified to date those women in that lane, they're doing positive things. Whereas these guys who are trying to jump out of their lane, and this is what you hear in social media. It's going to sound harsh. They're trying to date women out of their class, and it sounds very harsh, but they're not compatible with those women. No. Yes, Shantae or whatever her name is, Sheena or whatever her name may be, She might have started out in a lower economic status background, but when she got accepted to Smith College and when she got that JD from Columbia University, things changed. And she may be corporate counsel for CBS, CNN. She's operating totally different. Her language and environment is totally different. And so respect that. Don't belittle and change. If you didn't do those things because those things were not important to you or something that you might not have been able to do, then respect the fact that, hey, she did that. There's another man for her. And the men that have made positive and good life choices and they know how to interact with these women, they will win in life because men that marry college educated women tend to live longer and they usually are healthier because of their women's awareness of health, food, nutrition, and things of that nature. So we, unfortunately, America is becoming more class stratified. And so if the gentlemen who want to go into these professions go into it, date, marry, and respect the type of women that you feel are in your lane that you want to do that with. But please do not ridicule, devalue the accomplishments of the women that have made these good life choices. Just deal with the women that you're most comfortable with and let the men that have come up to the standard of personal excellence, they'll interact with, make good husbands for those women. And
Ray,
for
let
the
me
women that don't
go
get
ahead. Go ahead,
anybody,
Ray.
they're comfortable with their lives. They might
Right.
be comfortable hanging out with their sorority sisters every December and Telluride. They might be comfortable going to Paris with their sorority sisters. So whatever they're doing, they're living a fulfilling life. They don't really feel that they'll be compatible with someone that doesn't respect what they've done with their life, educational wise and career wise. But go ahead, brother. I just
Ray,
make
no,
that
that's
point.
okay, Ray. What I want to do, because you talked about marriage, this is very important. I want to put this on the screen for everybody. This is from peer research. Once again, people do a lot of talking on YouTube, but never have anything to back up what they're saying. You talked about black men marrying. Well, here's the good number right here. Among black adults, 36% of men are married compared to 29% of women. This whole thing out here that black men don't marry, and particularly the whole thing that, oh, well, black men will marry out of their race. When black men get married, they marry, the majority of the women that they get married to are black women. I'm going to read this again. Among black adults, 36% of men are married compared with 29% of women. Black women in turn are slightly more likely than black men to be divorced. Listen to me, to be divorced at 14% versus 10%, or widowed at 8% versus 2% for men. This is why, Ray, when we look at black women and you say, well, why is she single? Because 8% of black women in general, that woman might either be divorced, maybe she was married at one point in time and something didn't go right in the marriage, or maybe she was widowed because her husband died, he passed away. Whereas black men, we're only 2% make up of those that become widowers. Okay. 14% of black women are not married in comparison to 10% of black men who did get married. I bring this up because you said that, well, the men that won't have a problem with an educated woman are men that can equally yoke up themselves. They're pursuing occupations that maybe they will give them good money or give them a career in life. And those are the men that marry. And Ray, am I right or am I wrong or right? Most people, when you look at the statistics, most people who get married in general tend to be people of higher economic status who tend to pursue marriage. Is that incorrect or is that right?
That's correct. And for the black marriages, I bet you that's still being held by the boomers, that these people, when they met in college, when they got their careers together, and that's holding it up. So I'm also concerned of what's happening with millennials and Gen Z, because pretty much Gen X, I wouldn't say they're out the marriage range, they're late to the marriage game. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
People in their 50s, they may get married, but it's not instant. It's more important that we have people in their 20s and early 30s getting married. and having children for the productiveness, because a lot of the people they use the statistic that there are more married Black men. What category of those men are married? Are those boomers, Gen Xers? Because it looks like from the boomers to Gen Xers, marriage went down, to millennials, marriage went down, and we really need marriage to go up for millennial Black men and Gen Z Black men to do the things that we need to do. And as you say, and they do marry their own people. So, it's the thing is, what my point I was trying to make is that these women, these guys who are saying that they're going to be alone, these women have good lives that they're happy with. Yes, they'd like to be with somebody, but they don't want to be with somebody who's telling them that their education means nothing. They don't want to be with somebody that says, you think just because you're a judge, you all that. They don't need that type of man. And they would rather not deal with somebody. They'd rather be alone. And that's in part fault because there are not enough men doing the type of things where they would be compatible. Income is not only the compatible issue. Now we're talking about these men that are on YouTube saying that all of them make six figures. Well, only 8% of Black men make six figures. Now, if we're looking at the trends of professions, 60% of the Blacks graduating from medical school are women. Same thing with dental school, and it's higher at law school. So very powerful professions will be predominantly Black women. And so you may be that small number of guys who develops a 7-figure plumbing company. You may be.
But even Kevin Samuels, when women would call his show and say that they were looking for a high value man, even Kevin Samuels told them that the number of men who meet that legitimate, what a high value man represents in terms of the economics of it, that that's a very small pool of people. But when you flip it and you look at women now, we can make, this is going to sound crazy to folks, but you can make the argument now with what we have put out here, the data, that there may be more high value women than there is high value men, economically speaking, educationally speaking. Can we make that argument, Ray?
For millennials and Generation Z. The other point when you talked about Kevin Samuels is that if these men on YouTube are true red pillars, the solution would be for them to elevate themselves into six-figure professional careers, since all the women that they say, 80% of the women, that's the type of man they want. So if you're saying that you can only make $45,000 a year or $50 a year, and you're trying to browbeat a woman that went through a doctor of pharmacy program, she's making a $125,000 a year working for a public hospital with full benefits. You're trying to tell her that she's too highfalutin or whatever it is.
Right.
You're not that man for her. You would do better to elevate her yourself to her income and socioeconomic status. And then, but see, she might not have time to wait for you. If you're 30 years old and she got to have a baby between 26 and 29, you may not be the one for her.
All right, let me say this too. Girlie Speaks. She says, whenever I hear men discuss this, they never bring up the femicide rates, never bring up the HIV rates, and never. Let me just say this to you. If you look at the title of the video, this is about high value women and men who engage in hypergamy, meaning men who are married, are in relationships with women who may have more education, they may have a job where they're making more money. We're not talking about those particular issues, because this is not what the topic is about. We're simply talking about how Black women and women in general across the board are getting more education. They're getting more upper mobility economically, and that there are men who are on that same level of wanting to pursue women that are doing well educationally, academically, or in this case, financially, that women that have status. And that there are men that are, we're not talking about men that these kind of men that we're talking about are not men that are beating on women and doing femicide and all of that. The people that are doing that, my sister, are the Pookies and the Ray Rays and the Sambos and the Gumbos. We're not talking about Sambo and Gumbo men, because black men and men in general who have their shit together, they don't go around doing femicide on women or giving women diseases and things of that nature. Anything is possible. Just because a person has education, upper mobility, and status doesn't mean that they're going to be perfect. Or certainly there's people out there who have that status and they do a lot of reckless stuff. But we're not talking about men who are doing bad things to women. We're talking about men that are marrying women, particularly marrying black women, and they are okay with black women having the status that they have, because what's happening is that as more women get more and more education, the roles are reversing and men are marrying black women who bring a lot in terms of their professional background to the table, in terms of their professional background. That's what we're talking about. We're not doing a female bash. This is not about bashing women. This is about just the issue. We're bringing up different points, me and Ray, to examine this whole situation. And me and Ray have said very honestly on this podcast today that men on the YouTube streets who complain about women are complaining in some cases about women that they don't even qualify for. They're complaining about women that they don't want. At the same time, they may not be able to get the women that they do want, who they don't fit the status. And that's just a fact.
Can I add something to that? I think they're complaining about the women that they actually want. They're frustrated that they don't qualify for those women because they don't have the criteria that those women demand. And the things that those women are demanding that those men have is what other women with similar credentials, career prestige, education, and income demand as well. And they're able to get those types of men because there are more men there are more Asian men, there are more white men doing those types of things. But there are a few black men. We've said it over and over. There are 60% of the MDs. Now we're talking about MDs coming out this upcoming year. And that trend looks to be the same if we're not doing anything to prepare black boys for that. Now, everybody doesn't have to become an MD, but we certainly want to have our standard bearer of men in those professions. We need brothers in power professions like judges, and we need brothers to become senators and lawyers and all that. We need them in other professions as well, such as the skilled trades. But the point of the matter is, I believe that these men who are complaining about these women, that they, quote, don't care about their education, or probably the walking wounded men who some woman who he felt was out of her reach. As Coach Prime said, it was not the woman's confidence about what she accomplished with herself. It is his insecurities that he had because he didn't feel he could have that woman, that he was worthy of her. So they get on 8-hour pranos and tell women how unimportant that their education is while they're being displaced by people from Latin America, knocking them out of construction jobs. They're being blocked out of IT jobs when people on the H-1B visa from India dominate IT.
Right.
So
while you're arguing with women on panels and going back and forth about the issues that you feel that you have with women, it is not in this case, it is not black women that's replacing your ass. It's these other groups that's going to come over here and replace our ass while we're arguing with our women. That's sad. And you don't. And another thing that's sad too is that you don't see these other groups on social media arguing with their women, putting their business out there. If they are, it's behind closed doors. Let me read this one too. I forgot to bring this up, and this is part of the articles that you put out there and sent to me. The number of highly educated women exceeds the number of highly educated men in the marriage market. Research found that women are now more likely than men to marry men less educated than they are. Check this out. This is another thing that you hear on YouTube. And I said this already, Ray. brothers will say, men will say in general, that I don't care about what her education is. I just want to know if she's feminine, if she's attractive, and how she treats me and how she keeps a household and blah, blah, blah. Men say this, right? So men are willing to lower our standards academically for the women that we feel are feminine and meet all those traditional qualities that we say that we want. And they can be women who don't even have a college education. Maybe they can have a high school education, right? Well, on the flip side, see, people talk about this on YouTube. I keep bringing up YouTube because we get a lot of stuff from YouTube that ain't always based in facts. While we keep talking about while we talk about how we as men don't really care about the educational component that a woman brings to the table, not all men, but some, we're forgetting that as these black women are getting more educated, some of them are marrying brothers or marrying men who are not at their academic standards for other reasons other than whether right? So you might have women that see your masculinity as important, your ability to raise a family is important, how you make that woman feel, your attitude. Women may see that as important as we see the same with women when they come to get with us if we don't measure up. Now, obviously, there are women out there that if you don't measure up, Ray, they ain't got no time for you, right? They ain't got no time for you. But you put out the number, this came out of an article, and I'm going to show you, if you guys want to know, well, where's y'all receipts? Where are you getting this information? I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. The research today shows that even though we know that women practice hypergamy as well and can be hypergamous as well as some men can, and women have traditionally, that there are still some women out there who are very well educated. We might have heard that video that came out several months back or a year ago where the woman says she wouldn't date a bus driver or something like that, Ray. That was that whole bus driver situation. But there are some women out there that are highly educated that will marry a man who has less education because they're looking at other criterias that man brings to the table. Now, Ray, let me do this because I know how this whole thing goes. People want to see some of the receipts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show some of the articles that we have brought up that has the numbers. And what I'm going to do also, Ray, is I'm probably going to put this in the comment section of the, but the description of the video. I'm going to put the links to these. So right here, this is the Ramper, the 5 ways millennial women are better at adulting than men. New study confirms. So all of this data is going to be in the description of this video for all of you to see. If you're wondering, well, where'd you get this at? Where'd you get that at? Ray, let me also show something else to the folks. I hope, were they able to see what I showed, Ray?
Romper, I'm just seeing something that says romper.
Yeah, okay, I'm just going to put up another one. These are the receipts from information that we've gathered, that you gathered. So right here, Ray, what is this website right here?
Romper.com, I think. Let's see.
We got another one. Let me see if everybody can see that. Is everybody seeing that on the screen? I have on the screen right now. Come on. Okay, there we go. There we go. Ray, let me take something off of here.
Okay.
All right. Ray, you sent me this, and let me go back into here and pursue this right now. So this is the shifting paradigm of dentistry, right? Because you've got women that are going into that area, right? You sent me that
Right,
article.
right.
Okay, let me disengage from that. That's not the one that I wanted to actually show. This is the one I want to actually show, Ray.
Okay.
Okay, so we saw the richest sex. Then we got black women studies. That's the one I want to show. This is from the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education. The Journal. And this is the breakdown. Black women studies far outnumber black men at the national highest ranking universities. So that's going to this is all going to be put in the description of this video. it has all the data, all the numbers. Right here, the black student gender gap at the national highest ranked university. Has all the universities, has all the gaps there. 26 of the 30th highest ranked university responded to our survey. Those institutions that declined to provide black enrollment data by gender were Wake Forest University, the University of Pennsylvania, the University of Southern California, and what have you. Let me see. Black women make up a very large 71.7% of all African Americans or black enrollment at what's that? Emory University in Atlanta.
Okay, let's see. You're talking about Morehouse College of Medicine, or okay?
This is the largest black gender gap amongst the 26 universities in our survey. Also, black women are 68.1% of the African American or black enrollment at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, at Berkeley, Northwestern, Cornell. Black women make up the largest percentage of the total African American enrollment than the national average, which is stated early is 63.6%. So black people at Cornell West, black women make up the majority of the black population at the University of Cornell West. So I'm going to put, Ray, when we end the video today, I'm going to put those pages in the, matter of fact, let me do this. Let me see if I can stick some of this in the chat room real quick.
Okay.
Because you know how it is. People want to see, facts, data. They want to see that what you're talking about is based in some facts. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two links in the chat room, and I'm going to put them on the video description again.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me put this in here, because people always want to know, well, where are you getting your information from? Hey, what's facts? What's not facts? Ray, what do you got to say, brother, before I show a video that I want people to see?
Okay. Well, what I think that both you and I are saying, it's not that we want black men to do well.
Yeah,
we want these brothers to overcome these challenges. We're pointing this out because we want, if these guys are calling themselves red pillars, that means that they should be elevating themselves to be those select men, as Brother Ron Will says. They should be economically select. They should be, marriage material select. They should be socially select, the men that these women want to mate with, which is ultimately. But if they're going to sit here and ridicule our women and denigrate them for getting an education, go on other platforms in the world and tell the world that our women are not beautiful, that our women are masculine, we really won't want to deal with those type of men. They don't contribute to our culture. They're quite welcome to go and be victimized by other cultures. Because this so-called passport movement, they are being targeted wherever they go. They don't have political power wherever they go.
Right.
And they're going to places where things are going to get out of order. As long as it's a small number of brothers doing it, it's cool. But some of these passport brothers have already ruined, outlived their welcome in a lot of places, to where some brothers who call themselves the good passport brothers are not going to some of those places because of the wrong type of men that have put a tragic image of black men in those areas.
Right. I want to say peace and respect to Snowman Multimedia. What's up, brother? And Tiffany Jackson, Brother Blaze, Jill's Chocolate Boutique's been hanging in this. Neighborhood Watch has been putting some good points in the chat room. I appreciate you. But let me say this, Ray. I don't have a problem with black men pursuing travel to go see other places, but this is how it hurts us. If you have black men that are going to these countries, and the reputation is getting out in other countries, that these men are going there, quote unquote, to slut out the women or to pursue the women, the men that live in those countries are going to feel some kind of way about it. Now, what you have in Colombia is where these guys are being what? They're being deleted. They're being tricked, right? What I don't like about it is that, let's say me and you, if I decide to go traveling, see, this is how I look at it, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
If I decide to get on a plane and travel and go to another country, I'm not necessarily thinking about going there primarily to meet women. I'm primarily going there to get a culture exchange. I'm going there to see a different place, a new world. And if I happen to meet a young lady within the process of going there organically, going out to the social events and all that, and you meet a lady because you're going there to enjoy a vacation organically, where you might meet somebody organically just in the normal social stream of things, and something was that, great. But if you create this mechanism where we going there to get the women because we feel that the women in America are not as good as the women there, okay, to each his own, what you believe. But when you do that, you put a target on your back when they see you going over there only to mess with their women. And this is the problem, Ray. This is why it's a problem. Because the problem with Americans, this goes beyond race, is that when we go to other countries, we bring our American shit and trash and cultural trash with us. We bring our American attitude with us to another country. That's the biggest mistake that Americans make. When you go to another person's country, act like you're a damn guest. Go there and blend yourself in with the culture and what is norm for the culture there. But what we do, we go over there and we say, I'm a big bad American. And we flash our little big bad American passport and think that we can do what we do in America in another country. And that's when we get caught up in bullshit and it all falls apart. That is the problem. So now if me and you go to any country to go over there organically for fun, they will automatically look at me and you, Ray, and say, these black Americans, I bet you they're over here trying to chase our women and slut them out. We will automatically be deemed that when we're not even, I'm not a part of Passport Brothers, you're not but we would be deemed that just based on the behavior of others. And this is a shame because overall in our society, we know how this works. When one black person messes up, we all sort of get blamed for it, right? We all sort of get stereotype based on what that black person does. It's a shame that it's like that, but it's reality, Ray.
Well, there's a brother whose name is Minority Nomad. He's 20, I think, an Air Force veteran. He traveled in Central Europe, and he said he had to get out of certain locations quick because the image of the black male was so negative that he could have gotten hurt. And a lot of these guys that are going to a lot of these dangerous settings, like, sir, you're by yourself. You're in some of the Central European countries like Serbia, where you don't speak the language, where there's a great deal of anti-blackness. They're just lucky they haven't gotten hurt. Same thing in a lot of these Latin American countries where black are not, there's a lot of anti-black racism, but they want to get on YouTube and tell us how great they're doing. And the guys who are less informed take that as gospel. And so what happens, they're the ones that are marked. You had a brother from Morehouse who moved to Columbia. He wanted to open up a restaurant, bought a house or bought a building and all that. And what happened is that the people that lived in that building took him out because they didn't have a place to stay. There was a hit on him. He didn't speak Spanish. From what I know, he didn't know if anybody was going to like that type of food. But these guys have painted this picture that they can go over here and do these great and grand things. And maybe a few of them can. But the people that are most successful are the people that acclimate to those culture. So if you move to another culture and you are going to be a part of that culture, you're going to be peaceful. But you can't go to another place and tell them that their country ain't nothing and you're American and you all ought to do this like that. And because, and this is what has happened. The image is already negative. You have certain passport bros saying that they don't want to associate with other passport bros because now is the N-word brothers that are down there acting a fool. And now these guys, it's just like you said, you're going to some place. You might want to just go to Paris. You might want to go to Nice. You might want to go to some place. And you kind of have to look over your shoulder because some clown has gone there and acted a fool.
Right. You go to another country and you meet a young lady organically that you might want to spend some time with while you're there. And because of the passport reputation that's got out there, the negative part of it, now, this is another thing. Because of the passport phenomena that has the negative side of it, somebody might attempt to run a con game on you. They might get a young lady to, come on to you to get you to a hotel room so that they can drug you. And then you wake up and they tell you better get to a hospital because your organs have been taken out.
Oh, yeah. That's if they care about you enough to even get you to a hospital. A lot of these guys, they just drug them and steal from them. But these guys are going to places that not only that they don't know the language, they don't know or understand the culture.
Right.
And a lot of these women, they are targeting. They've had videos. These women specifically are they don't have some of the pharmacy restrictions like we have here and in Canada. So they can take a drug, and put it in someone's drink and completely knocking them out. The women that do that have no idea of the health status of the person that they're putting these major drugs in their drinks. So if the guy makes it out of that alive, he is lucky. So it's just a sad thing. But like you said, the good guys pay for the dangerous faults of the bad guys, and it's catching up with them. They're looking at these videos here. They're looking at complaints of Black American women here, and they're not thrilled about that. And then there you have this guy who's supposed to be a big time YouTuber, who's supposed to be wealthy or well off, who doesn't even want to have a baby. He got this woman to come way over here, and she's allegedly pregnant, and he's doing that same old don't want to be a man, don't want to take responsibility for his actions.
Right. What he's doing is he's engaging in the American behavior. But this is the thing though, Ray. As guys talk about, well, other women in other parts of the world are going to be better than women in America. The bottom line is, no matter where you are in the world, there's a cultural difference. But in terms of female and male nature, that never changes. Who you are as a male and as a woman remains the same. The only difference is cultural difference. So so that woman's from China or she's from another country, believe me, she's still going to want him to pay and take care of that damn child. Or let me correct my language here. Take care of the child, the baby that she's going to have, just as any woman in America would expect him to be responsible for the seed that he's laid up in her. But see, this is the reason why y'all got to stop listening to these characters on YouTube who try to tell you about how to be a man and red pill talk when they not red pill themselves. Because if they were red pill, they would follow their own advice, and they don't. They only sell this stuff to you guys so that you can give them money and buy their books and give them views and give them all this attention. You blow these channels up, but yet you got channels over here like my channel and many others who give you legitimate information, education, and we can't even get 1,000 people watching. We can't even get 500 people watching us unless I'm talking about, unless I start talking about, P. Diddy. When I do those videos, everybody and their mama will come over here and watch me talk about him or anyone else of that nature. But when we try to break some things down educationally about this issue, people won't come over here to get to listen, but they'll listen to the Fresh and Fits of the world and all these other guys that do this type of red pill content who are lying to you. They're lying to you. So you would think that people would clean their hands of these guys after he got himself in this mess. See, or he got himself in a situation and now he's acting just like the very people that he would set up here and criticize. See, these guys get on their show, Ray, and we see it all the time. They criticize. You can't be a man that criticizes the decisions that women make, and then you don't even make no damn better decisions your damn self. So then you should put yourself in the same bag with the very women that you say make irresponsible decisions with who they open their legs to. but then you fool impregnated this woman.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be red pill, supposed to follow a philosophy, and y'all can't even follow a philosophy. Ray, as we get ready to end the show, I want to play this video by this sister.
Okay.
And this is sort of like, I think she's saying some things that she says that most women who are that are educated, go to school and pursuing, and and all this sort of stuff. She's saying that most women won't admit to. And Ray, I really want to get your thoughts about what she says and people in the audience before we end the show in a little bit here, because she's not saying that it's not good for men and for women to go to school. No, but she's saying how you have to know how to separate your professional life as a boss woman in the professional world from how you operate at home with your husband. So I want you to hear this, Ray, and I want everybody to give me I thought she made really excellent points, and I want everybody to give me their really honest critique of what you're going to hear this sister say. And
Okay.
and reaching out to her and seeing if I can get her on the channel to talk more about this. And very attractive sister here, and she makes some really good points.
Have to be assertive. There's a lot of skills that you attain as a college student and as a Black woman. And oftentimes these same skills that you attain in the academy work well in the academy, but do not work as well in relationships. There's also something called compartmentalizing.
I just wanted to stop it right there, Ray. This is fair use with the purpose of educating, news reporting, parody, and critical analysis. What she says right there, Ray, and everyone listening, is pretty interesting. She's saying that the things that when you go to college, sisters, when you go to school, for men too, when you go to school, the way you're trained in school for your profession doesn't always translate to how you should behave at home with your spouse. And let's continue on with what she's saying. Let's let her, I'm just going to play it through. This is fair use, fair use.
Work well in the academy, but do not work as well in relationships. There's also something called compartmentalizing, which men do quite naturally and very well. And it is something that women struggle with. It could also be that women of other races and other cultures are socialized to compartmentalize in a way that Black women were not. What does compartmentalizing look like? Well, as an example, is that if you are a boss, if you're a CEO, you're a director, if you're a corporate executive, if you're a doctor, like Dr. Jen, who you saw a clip of, it means that, you have to be able to step outside of one leadership role, and in relationship, be willing to step into a different role. And that role, of course.
Do you all hear what the sister is saying? She's not saying to be a slave to your man. She's basically saying you got to be able to separate your lifestyle as a corporate or a medical doctor, as a boss woman in your job. But when you come home, you can't bring your job home with you. You can't bring the boss woman stuff home with you. You have to know how to separate that from your professional work to your home. Most men want a wife who's going to come home and be soft, a woman that relaxes a man. And I think a woman wants a man that's going to be good to her, that relaxes her, that relieves her of her stress. And a man wants the same from a woman. He doesn't want the attitude of you trying to be a boss woman at home with him. And I'm sure women don't want a man to come home trying to bring his energy from work onto her as well. This, what she's saying to me, seems very logical, but let's hear the rest.
Should be defined within the confines of your relationship. But you cannot intermingle the status and the position that you have at work, the status and the position that maybe you had in college, you know, the way that you were in college, the way that you are at work. If you try to emulate that in your relationship, particularly in relationship with a Black man, it will be an epic fail.
You hear what she's saying? You got to learn to separate the two. As Black women are becoming more educated, pursuing higher learning and making more money, she's saying that you got to separate how you are at work and how you are at home, because home is not work. It's a different dynamic that you have to go and adapt. We have to adapt to. Both men and women, I think both of us need to do this. Not just women, but men as well. Let's continue on what she's saying.
Many of these theories that we learn in college, many of the ways we are socialized to be in college via women's studies courses and so forth, these theories do not equate to what success looks like in practice. And this is what many educated Black women won't talk about, is that all the years spent in college, at university, studying, achieving, helped us to get a certain skill set that is not valued at the same rate in the real world and in real life. I'm not going to say it holds no value, but oftentimes the value that it holds in a relationship is minimal.
See, this goes back to what I was saying earlier, Ray, that we know that men in general don't care about all that education stuff in general. Some men, the men who don't care, it's about how the woman is at home. I also want to say this to Brian Turner, who left this message. Black women masculinity disposition is going to lead to a mass production of single mothers and divorce in the future. No, it's going to be Black women who are like that are going to be divorced. The Black women who have their shit together and at the same time understand that home is different from work, and that being a mother, a wife, a nurturer at home, the women that can best adapt to what this sister is talking about will have the success. The women who won't have success. Just like men who don't adapt properly at home with their wives and be husbands, they're gonna have failure too. This ain't no one-off. See, this is our problem on YouTube. It's always a one-off. No, it's both of us. If we both bring the same energy, funky energy home from our job or from whatever's going on in our outside of our life, and we don't have a sermon, we don't bring that shit down, both women, whether they have education or not, they're going to have problems, and men are going to have problems if they're bringing their stressors, their issues home to the woman. It's going to cause problems. So, Brian,
may I add
Turner,
to that as well?
You can. Brian Turner, you are right, brother. But I'm talking about the women. Let's focus on. Let's not focus. It's not for the women who don't recognize it, like this sister's talking about. It's the women who don't recognize it going to have the problems. So I hear what you're saying, brother. Go ahead, Ray.
Now, I do want to make a counter commentary to this as well, because the women who are in relationships with men that they have high regard for, that they value and respect, they treat those men well. They respect those men as the spiritual leader of the home, the leader of the home. My interpretation of this woman is a basic, what they call a pick-me, who's browbeating successful Black women, making them feel badly because they were able to accomplish these types of goals. And they're not with men who can respect what they have done. They know how to compartmentalize. There's something that Tiffany Jackson put in, that these women are in positions where they navigate sexism and racism.
Yeah,
They
there
know
it
how to
is.
code switch. They have earned top tier degrees,
Mhm.
but they don't know how to compartmentalize for their men. They know how to do that. The men on YouTube who are bittering, they
Okay.
don't even qualify for these women. And
Okay.
they need to get with women in their lane, on their education level, on their income and social status level, so that they won't be complaining. You have a lot of these pick me women who think they're
Mhm.
doing a great job by trying to bruise the self-esteem of these
Okay.
highly accomplished Black women who basically had to go to hit through hell to get
Okay.
to where they are. And they
Yes.
need a particular type of man who respects what they've done, who's honored it. And I've seen women who are doctors can cook for their husband
Mhm.
and children, and serve their husband and children. So you don't have to be, you're not in any situation just because you've got an MD, or an MBA doesn't mean that you don't know how to serve the man that you love and respect. And these
Mhm.
women are getting on here, basically, evidently trying to align with these bitter men who are
Okay.
not qualified for the women that they are trying to pursue. And they need to stay in their lane and deal with the women in their lane so they can be comfortable with who they are. And they
Mhm.
need to leave the women out of their lane alone and let those women live their life.
But Ray, let me just say this to what that sister was saying. I understand what you're saying, that it could be sort of fear mongering, but
Hmm.
this is where I don't think it's all. Let me just, because I never try to say all. I don't think it's all women. Just like it's not all men. But I certainly believe that the message that she is saying, it could pertain to some women. And
Hmm.
maybe, and she's probably wrong by saying women can't, you know, uh, part communal. I can't even speak right now.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I'm not saying that all women can. I'm not saying that at all. She's probably wrong there by saying that women can't, separate certain things from here to there, because women are multitaskers anyway by nature. They are
Hmm.
multitaskers, right? But I think her message might fit a certain group of women who have had a hard time transitioning from what they do in their professional life to how they are at home. I think it may fit those particular women, that it may fit, but it does not fit all. So you are absolutely correct about that. And Tiffany Jackson obviously has broke the door down with the statement that she put out there to really put it in some perspective. And she says, Ray Alexander, I said exactly the same thing. I appreciate you so much. Pick me for sure. Okay. Um, Let me see this, Ray, because we're getting ready to. Blaze said this: Tiffany Jackson, not a problem. It's an African proverb and one of the most important lessons my grandfather taught me growing up. What was the proverb, brother? Bonnie Rose is in the house saying, sure, so true. Yeah, I thank everybody for rocking with us today. Jonathan Kidd, everybody that's been rocking with us. Ray, you got any, because I'm up against the clock, you got any last words that you would like to say, brother?
Well, just thank you for bringing this subject on, man. This topic is really needed, and we need to stand up for our sisters. Education is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
These guys who are bitter about their personal lives, their lack of personal development, their lack of educational development, their lack of income, their lack of social status, because they're in a society that does not respect them. This is not something that was done by our women. This is not something that's maintained by our women. It's the larger society that's giving our brothers these challenges, giving all of us. So
Mm-hmm.
these bitter men can go into those little holes that they are, and that's all they're doing. They can go to those little live streams that they have 8 hours to, and I don't know what kind of jobs they got. I can't do no live stream, no 8 hours every.
Let
I
me,
can't do it. Period. They
let,
on every live stream every day, but they all high value men making six figures.
Ray,
And I'll just say it
it's
like that.
Ray. We're two common sense brothers here. You know damn well, Ray, that if you're on a live stream for 8 hours, 10 hours, all damn day long, 5 days a week, 7 days a week, how the hell can you be a high value? if you got all these businesses and all these pursuits, you don't have time to be on a live stream for 8, 10, 12 hours every damn day because you had on your business. So if you got guys on the stream, look for example, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Ray, ask me this. Ray, why do you think I don't go live every goddamn day on YouTube? Why do you think I don't go live on YouTube?
You have
every
multiple
damn day?
responsibilities.
Because I got responsibilities. I got things I got to do. Maybe every now and then I can upload a video if I got time. Maybe every now and then I might be able to, I'll go live on Sundays, right? But you don't
Right.
see me on here. And I know if I was going live on this channel like every single day, my numbers would be higher. I probably would have more subscribers by now because that's how YouTube works. The more videos you put out, the more you're in the algorithms, the more shit happens for you, right? But
Right.
I can't do that because I've got professional things I'm doing in my life. I've got responsibility. I'm not saying that there's no brothers on the people don't have responsibility on YouTube, but certainly if you spending that much time,
Mm-hmm.
then one can make an inference that you may not be Mr. Six Figures like you say you are, because you wouldn't have time to complain about women in anything because you'd be too busy checking your money, your accounts, talking to your accountant, investing and dealing with business, man. You know,
Yeah.
these facades that people put on is kind of laughable, you know.
It's unfortunate. It's real though.
But Ray, I gotta get ready to go. I'm up against the clock. This is the BS3 network. I'm on live right now on Roku, and I've got to disengage so that the next show on Roku TV can go live right now. Ray, don't stop sending me these cutting edge topics and information whenever you're ready to do another show about any other hot button topic. Man, you know how it works. Send me that email. We set it up and we do what we do, brother. I appreciate you being here.
All right. Thank you. And I enjoyed participating. Great show. Take care.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Ray Alexander. The brother, you've seen us do other shows in the past that were pretty interesting. We got my man, Narratives and Dialogue. Make sure you check out his channel, Tiffany Jackson. Anybody in that chat room that has channels, check them out. Subscribe, support. Thank you for those of you that rocked with me today. With the numbers that we had, thank you, because you are people that really are consistent with this channel as well. Make sure you know how YouTube is. Share this in your social media, your Twitter, your YouTube. Share this video. Put this in your community tab because, you know, maybe some people thought that we were just going to talk the typical talk where it was about like, you know, women are this and women are that kind of talk. No, we were really talking about men marrying up with women that are more educated than themselves. And because not only do you have female hypergamy, you have male hypergamy as well. So I want to thank you all for listening today. And everybody, I'll see you soon. Everybody take care. Peace.
Feels like the first time. Throw away all my pride. Don't wanna say I love you first. Holding it in just might make me burst. Love in the open. Daydreaming, hoping.
You are listening to the Information Man. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel.
Believe new worlds. Whispering winds bring the remembrance that you're my girl. No shame, no games. I wanna fall in love. Fall in love. I'll be a bad. Or do you like sweet caramel honey dipped? I'm yours. Flips. Don't let it slip. give up my power. Yes, afraid to lose each other, counting the hours till I see you again. Could you be life, lover, and best friend? Waiting for text back, wondering where you were. Or who could you be with? No, I'm not possessive, but you're mine. I'ma let you live, no shame, no shame.
Tell the truth.
No game. I wanna fall in love. Fall in love. Do you want nasty, babe? I'll give you options. I'll be a perfect day. I'm yours till the night fades. No shame. Daydreaming, hoping, melting in our make-believe new worlds. Whispering winds bring the remembrance that you're my girl. No shame, no games. I wanna fall in love. I'll be the best.
Thank you for watching the Information Man Show today.